Upon hearing this, junior brother didn't expect senior brother would go to such lengths. He still did quite a few good deeds. Jin Guang plans to sell these places after their prices go up, and then go to the outskirts to buy cheaper land. Junior brother feels this actually harms Kunlun's reputation. Jin Guang has already decided to do it under the guise of helping people in remote areas. The head of the family didn't expect Kunlun to trust the Peng family so much. In the future, they also hope Kunlun will continue to help them. After this matter began, there were constant praises for Kunlun. Although I know Jin Guang has other intentions. Soon, the news of the four families cooperating spread. The head of the Peng family wanted to join in when he learned about it. The master said that this was done to help the Peng family. If the Peng family is not elected as the leader of the martial arts world, their agreement will become invalid. The master thinks it's not appropriate in Kunlun's name. It's better to gather more people to do it together, for safety. In this way, Jin Guang found the Tang family. He found the orphanage in Zhongnan. He found the beggars sect for the cooperation with the restaurant. So, we should expand Kunlun's influence in the Central Plains. The mother and son are very grateful for the agreed suggestion. Not just the inn. Jin Guang also plans to build a Taoist temple and an orphanage. Although it's a good thing, a restaurant can't earn that much silver. Is he doing this for fame? Jin Guang confirmed his thoughts, but it's in the name of Kunlun. We need to stop being indifferent like before. So, opening a restaurant near the Martial Arts Alliance solved the issue. But mother thinks this will require a lot of silver. Jin Guang wants them to run their business well. In the future, they can buy his land. The junior disciple doesn't understand what he wants to do. But in return, finding people will be left to the disguise expert. Fan still doesn't know why they're being so kind to him. Jin Guang asked him if he aspired to learn martial arts. No time to cook. But he's worried about leaving his mother behind. Jin Guang invited his mother to sit down with them. He knew that the mother and son were inquiring here because they didn't have money and were interested in opening a better place. Then he let his junior brother choose a location from what they had. He plans to lend it to the mother and son as a restaurant. In the future, when the beggar clan visits, they can give them more charity. He wanted to go with Heilong, but the other said he was too tired. So he could only go eat something delicious by himself. Hearing that, Fan Heilong quickly followed him. Soon, they arrived at the boy's family's restaurant. How can a gift once given be taken back? Others are confused about the situation. They all look at the head of the Nangong family in surprise. On another note, today's training has already concluded. Jin Guang wants to go see the boy's mother. Clearly, they are all valuable medicinal materials inside. There must be something going on in between. The elder doesn't want to say much. He is preparing to consider supporting someone else. The head of the family didn't expect to receive something and then backtrack. What's going on? The elder thinks he is still playing games with himself. Those beans are not suitable for him. He will return them to the master of the house. The master of the Nangong family doesn't understand what he is saying. He actually didn't suffer any loss. That day, the Martial Spirit Alliance held a meeting. The head of the Nangong family noticed something unusual about those people. The expressions of those who had given gifts were not quite right. Send a message to Elder Qingqing to inquire. They didn't know that Jin Guang was trying to build a good relationship with them. A small contribution will later make them useful for themselves. And all these materials were gifts from the Nangong family to the various sects. He secretly took them all away. It has been confirmed that it can expel the body's turbid energy. The only downside is that it needs to be taken near the outhouse. Afterward, he found a few other mentors. He told them about the pill's effects. After hearing this, they all thanked Jin Guang very much. He instructed them to take it beside the toilet. Jin Guang's purpose was very clear. He needed his own informants within the Martial Arts Alliance. He even specially made a magical pill. He hopes that junior brother will be the first to taste it. He will gain tremendous benefits. Jin Guang decided to name it Vacuum Wonder Orchid. He reserved his share for Kunlun and himself. He also had candidates for the remaining 8. He called those boys over. It would help expel the turbid energy from his body. The junior disciple was already reacting. Seeing this, Jin Guang immediately grabbed him. He was instantly thrown toward the outhouse. While emptying his body, the golden light ignored him. He focused on handling the final steps. Not long after, the pill was successfully refined. He handed a pill to the junior disciple, telling him to take it. Looking at the jars behind the Nangong family, he decided to continue following. The next day, the junior brother discovered that the golden light was gone again. Unexpectedly, he was already preparing medicine early in the morning. He approached and asked his senior brother what he was doing, but he found nothing inside. He couldn't believe the Nangong family dared to fool him. He would repay them for everything they had done. Meanwhile, the golden light on the roof was watching the herbs. I didn't expect there would be unexpected gains. He expressed his full support for the Nangong family. Then they warmly saw them off. Not long after, the elder happily ran back, excitedly opened the jar to see what was inside. The head of the family ordered someone to bring the jar from earlier. Inside was food that benefits the body. The Qingcheng elder thought he was joking. The family head hoped he would decide after seeing it. Upon hearing this, the elder understood his intention. So, he followed them. It turned out they were going to visit an elder of the Qingcheng sect. The head of the Nangong family had a very simple purpose. They hoped to support him in becoming the leader of the martial arts world. The elder asked what he would get in return. While thinking, he suddenly wanted to eat meat. He quickly changed his clothes and went to find a place to eat. Unexpectedly, he ran into people from the Nangong family. Moreover, they were traveling without any disguise. He was very curious about the things on their backs. After the master left, Jin Guang fell into deep thought. If he were from the Nangong family, he would make the same decision. In these 7 days, he also didn't know how to help the Peng family, because Huashan and Zhongnan are currently influenced by the alliance. Other sects are afraid of losing their interests. Agreed to the proposal. So I hope Jin Guang adjusts the training schedule. Wen Yan didn't expect that boy to be quite capable. The head of the Lan Palace will not let this slide. In the evening, the master wanted to talk to Jin Guang. Seeing this, Jin Guang asked the master what had happened. The master said that the Nangong family had started to take action. He suggested deciding on the candidates for the Wulin alliance in 7 days. Everyone was enthusiastic. No one noticed that Jin Guang had taught nothing at all. A few days later, more and more people participated. The support for the Peng family is increasing. All 5 people developed a good impression of the Peng family. The master knows this won't make everyone a master, but as long as you persist, the future will have better developments. And so, after the first day ended, so everyone needs to learn how to fight with their fists and whatever surround them. One day, it might save their own lives. As the day's training came to an end, the head of the Peng family prepared recovery drinks for everyone. The harm is limited to these 2. They will tell everyone how to cope and resolve it. Next is the training of Quan Fong and Yilong. Jin Guang doesn't know how everyone would fight if their weapons were damaged. They would probably just stand there and wait, apologize to the gatekeeper, then call the elder and leave this place. This matter has already begun. In the next stage, the Tang siblings will guide everyone in understanding the poison. Although everyone will feel uncomfortable, however, the guard gestures that he cannot let him in. The head never expected to be denied entry. Since many people were watching, he had to restrain himself. He then expresses his apologies for being rude. At that moment, the guard shouted that the break was over. The main gate was about to close. The head of the Nangong family doesn't understand why the gate needs to be closed. The guard indicates that only those who want to learn can enter. This makes the head even more curious about what is being taught inside. Determined to run for the position of Wulin Alliance leader, he decided to check it out in person. He wanted to come up with a countermeasure. He arrived at the Peng family's residence. There was already a long line at the entrance. Everyone was discussing how much this would help them. The family head decided to investigate personally. The family invited young talents to teach martial arts for free. This attracted a large number of martial artists to come and learn. This news soon reached the ears of the Nangong family head. This seriously affected him. The next step is to spar with the disciples of the Peng family. As the host, the Peng family has their disciples fully committed to guiding others in their training. This news quickly reached the Nangong family. To their surprise, more and more people joined the training. Everyone understands the importance of the basics, but it's hard to stick to it. That's because seeing others practice makes you feel left behind. So practicing together with everyone alleviates the fear. After practicing for an hour, Jin Guang didn't know who told them that the horse stance was easy. He had everyone watch how that person did it. The boy practiced. That is the true horse stance. You must lift your heels for it to count. They didn't come here to learn the horse stance. After hearing this, Jin Guang said that those who are unwilling to learn can leave. There's no way, although they complained. They still started practicing. This is Jin Guang shouting. Today's training begins. To lay a good foundation, the first exercise is the horse stance practice. Upon hearing this, everyone's enthusiasm was instantly extinguished. Jin Guang said that if he joined, he would find out. Returning to that day, the host introduces the mentors to everyone. No one expected these would be the geniuses. In an instant, everyone was filled with anticipation, using food as a bargaining chip to impress them. Then he went to the Tang family. He invited the Tang siblings, offering to implement feedback for improvements. Quan Fong asked him what he was gathering them for. For the sake of the martial arts alliance, he was willing to share the Peng family's martial arts. The day before this, the Golden Light went to find help as agreed. He first sought help from the Pterosaur gang. Thus, they reached an agreement. He informed his master and his master's uncle about this matter. Soon, news of the Peng family's martial arts instruction spread. That day, many people came to see what was going on. The head of the family stated that he was also inspired by the Kunlun Golden Light. The head of the family still cannot make the decision. Seeing this, Jin Guang suggested dividing the team into two groups. His master would lead one half back to Kunlun, while the rest would stay in the central plains. This also allows for the head of the family to be placed. He is afraid that others won't agree with his qualifications. Jin Guang reassures him, "This is for my master." This way, Kunlun can freely allocate this team. But for various reasons, Jin Guang just wants to know if the family head's promise will be fulfilled. The family head has already planned two small teams. They are named the Tianlong team and the Tulong team. After hearing this, Jin Guang hopes to become the captain of the Tianlong team. The family head thinks it's difficult. The next day, the head of the Peng family found Jin Guang. He had a good idea. He came here specifically. He wanted to hold a training session open to anyone. He hoped that Jin Guang's participation would attract people. He decided to challenge him to a few moves. Sure, Yongchuan didn't expect him to dare resist after learning just a few techniques. He wants to teach these people a lesson. But he didn't expect that he would be the first to fall. With just one punch, he was brought to his knees. Several people were hired by his family. It's said that Jin Guang taught them quite a few techniques. He wanted to see the results of their training. The boy was actually too scared to disobey him. But remembering Jin Guang told them to be brave. When they first walked down the street, they noticed everyone talking about how the golden light guided them. They didn't expect the news to spread so quickly. At that moment, an artist called out to them. So it was the youngest son of the Shi family, Shi Yongchuan. Then several people left this place. They really admired that junior brother. He wasn't afraid at all to charge into the golden light. They were all trembling with fear. But overall, they still benefited a lot. The first step is to launch an attack on him. Before long, everyone was unable to stand up. Jin Guang felt they were training well. But the junior disciple can't rest. He has to keep going. Everyone rushed to share what they knew. Jin Guang also prepared to train them as promised. The main issues for everyone were a lack of courage and self-confidence. This is a high wall that hinders their progress. So what they need to do is be brave. He said he had always been in Kunlun. He knows very little about the affairs of the martial world. I also want to know who supports the candidates for the leader of the martial alliance. Everyone feels that such matters should not be discussed lightly. Seeing this, Jin Guang indicated that he would guide them in their martial arts. They can't afford to slack off either. Only the junior disciple knows he's trying to hide the fact that he's eating meat. At this moment, the conversation of those nearby caught their attention. Jin Guang felt it was time to gather some information. Then he walked over to a nearby seat. His junior brother wasn't one yet. And this junior brother had a huge appetite. So it's best to bring all the meat that can be served. Everyone admires him for practicing while eating. Even geniuses work this hard. He hoped Peng Jia would really be elected leader. That way, his dream of traveling the world could come true. Then the boy brought up a plate of vegetables. Jin Guang told him to only cook meat. Even though he was a Taoist priest, he asked if he thought he was very foolish. Seeing that his wife and mother seemed completely unaware, he let them try to prepare the meal. The wait made Jin Guang think of Kunlun. He was already starting to miss those people. Jin Guang wanted to teach him a lesson. He became more suspicious of the purpose of the recommendation to come here. At that moment, a person walked out of the house. They referred to the boy who brought them as their son. Upon hearing this, Jin Guang was already sure he had been deceived. The artist said he was a local. He knew a place with good food. Jin Guang suspected he was trying to earn a commission. So they went to the place he mentioned. Seeing how simple it was, he takes the junior disciple and leaves here. He goes outside to ask if those people also want to eat. He will treat everyone to a feast outside. Then they arrived at the same restaurant as last time. They were told there were no seats available. Because he has some important matters to attend to, they shouldn't underestimate the ordinary five. Does the master really doubt that this is his true intention? Asking heaven whether to trust the other party. Jin Guang also ignores it, seeing more and more people gathering around. Jin Guang began to think of a way to leave. The few people at the entrance gave him an idea. He then transmitted a message to his master, indicating that he needed to leave first. Everyone quickly returned the greeting. The head of the family heard his son Kongwei speak of many bright things. He wants to invite them to his family's home. The three old men heard this and stopped him. They asked if he also wanted to steal their apprentices. He completely doesn't look like a good person. The master actually has the same thought. Then he told him not to speak carelessly. Hurry and eat your food. After the meal, the head of the Peng family personally came to visit. The purpose of today's banquet is precisely for this. The master interrupts the angry Jin Guang. He introduces the person in the distance as the head of the Peng family, and asks how he feels. In Jin Guang's view, a gaze from afar caught his attention. Jin Guang looks at himself angrily. He ignores it. He asks everyone if the food suits their taste, and thanks everyone for their contributions to the martial arts world. He didn't expect it to be all vegetables. There was meat on the other tables. He was very angry about the different treatment from the Nangong family. At that moment, the head of the Nangong family was watching everyone from above. He really enjoyed this feeling of being on top. Shu and the others were about to leave. They were preparing to attend the banquet at the Nangong family. Since there was good food, Jingguang chose to go together. He regretted it as soon as he arrived at the venue. Jingguang indicated that he did not agree to study. The two old men also asked him what he was doing here. Seeing them bickering incessantly, Jingguang felt that this was a disaster. When he returned, then he asked his son for his impression of him. Tang Xiong felt that although the person was frivolous, he meant no harm. This made the head of the family want to meet the boy as well. At this moment, Jingguang had completely mastered the martial arts of the gun in just 2 days. Beside him, Jiazun also wanted to teach his own martial arts. Now Kunlun may affect his bid for the leader. He wants to host a banquet for the major sects to strengthen his influence. On the other side, the head of the Pang family also learned the news. The Tang family and MANHUA both support him. He praised Jingguang as truly remarkable. The choice for the leader of the martial arts alliance is less important than a child. The elders expressed that they would go to determine each family's answer. Jin Long by the side also hopes his father will calm down. His father told him not to speak. He already knows about Pai Long's matter. He then inquires what benefits he can obtain. The sovereign appreciates his honesty. As long as it can be done, Jingguang can propose it. Thus, the matter of accepting Chang's teachings also spread. The head of the Nangong family doesn't know what has happened recently, because once he learns it, he can pass it on to their disciples. The sovereign won't let Jingguang pay in vain. Their sect will support the Pang family along with Kunlun. They will also fund the development of the Qinghai merchant groups. Jingguang believes this is what the sovereign should do. After finishing and returning, he learned that the master was looking for him. It turns out that the Dongyue sect leader found his master. He originally opposed Gundun teaching the golden-like martial arts. Now, he actually hopes he can accept it. He saw that the dog's fur on the leader had dirted the food. He has a secret. He hopes to keep it safe. They all thought it was something important. They didn't expect it was just to help him hide the fact that he ate meat. I see the leader chuckling over there. Jingguang feels that he has some plans, uncovering the leader's inappropriate behavior. Let them eat quickly while it's hot. At this moment, Jingguang noticed something. He couldn't believe that Kunlun would have such a disciple. He hadn't seen such a despicable person in all these years. Moreover, Jiazun is fixated on this boy. But perhaps this is also an opportunity. It could make that old man so angry he has a stroke. Seeing his serious expression, both of them swear they won't speak of it. But Jingguang is just eating meat and not talking. After eating, he expressed that this is the secret. The leader didn't expect this was what he was talking about. Although he is very rude, he will not lie. Then I want to hear what exactly happened. Jingguang feels that there is something more important now. He asks if they can keep it a secret. Ilong also heard about his studies with Duzuan. Jingguang stated that he had learned everything. The leader was seriously doubtful. After all, only 2 days had passed. The pterosaur's transmission can be trusted, Jingguang. This way, he could eat meat under the name of the Beggars Guild. Heard there's food to eat. The leader of the Beggars sect immediately took a liking to Jingguang. They arrived at the restaurant. Jingguang told them not to be polite. Master came to the Beggars Guild. The leader asked if he wanted to learn from the esteemed master. Jingguang felt there was no need for that anymore. However, he had something that they could help with. He invited them to follow him for a meal, because he wanted to eat meat. He couldn't stay in the Wulin Alliance, but he remembered that he had to change clothes to disguise himself first. When he was troubled, someone found him. It was Pterodactyl accompanied by the leader. He didn't expect that being the sole ruler would actually hurt him. Then he thanked the other party for their guidance. He expressed that he had mastered everything. He prepared to leave. First, he wanted to eat. He wanted to see how long the other could hold on. When Jingguang saw that Duzun was using poison in his internal power, he took the opportunity to sneak behind him. Duzun praised his speed and skill. But at that moment, Jingguang had already stopped to the side. Duzun said he is not good with words. Actually, it's better to practice a bit. Jingguang agreed and threw a handful of sand. Then, a rain of hidden weapons fell from the sky. Although Duzun didn't know what he was up to, Duzun said there is something about the Tang sect that is not well known. It's the extreme demand for speed. Jingguang thinks what he said sounds nice, but it's just about escaping. He is just wasting time here. They decided to go and talk to Kunlun. At this time, Jingguang had already started training. The whole morning was spent practicing hidden weapons. He felt that this was of no use to him, asking when he will teach useful things. This news quickly spread throughout the martial world. Jiazun and Shangzun's colleagues stated that they would no longer teach if it wasn't Jingguang. Disciples from both sects opposed their decision, but it didn't matter what they said. In that case, at the same time, a physician must be sent to reside at Kunlun sect. Thus, both sides reached an agreement. They then informed their master and senior uncle about this. The master fully supported him in learning different martial arts. Jin Guang stated that he would always have only one true master. Jin Guang knew it wasn't that simple. He could agree to this matter, but he couldn't accept the nagging. And it must also meet his own conditions. That is to unconditionally help the disciples of Kunlun with their injuries in the future. After entering the house, Jin Shi saw that Jin Shi was in charge. Jin Guang wanted to hear the other party's explanation. The family had hoped he could accept his father's teachings, and that he would announce this matter to the martial world. This way, the two factions could become powerful allies. He then indicated that in exchange, he hoped to get some help for himself. Before that, they could first return to the Tang family to heal. After returning, the head of the family asked Jin Guang to accompany him to a place. Not long after, Jin Guang concluded today's training. Everyone was left injured by him. Seeing this, he instantly appeared before the head of the family. He hoped that he could provide some healing medicine for Kunlun. The head of the family finally understood the obsession of the old men towards him. The training ground erupted with killing intent. It turned out to be emanating from Jin Guang alone. This was all to train the Kunlun disciples on how to control their killing intent. In the distance, the head of the Tang family watched all of this. He never expected the boy to be so terrifying, but the old man said it was all because he had taken in a precious disciple. After boasting, he dismissed them from the door. The two of them hadn't experienced such humiliation in a long time. They decided they couldn't let this disciple succeed so easily. Just before this, he would use killing intent comparable to his master's uncle to fight. In the distance, the Tang family head watched everything unfold. He never expected that the boy would be more dangerous than he thought. In just one night, he had grown thick, beautiful hair. His friends believed this must be a moment of revival. The master's uncle didn't understand why he did this. Seeing the golden light, there was no intention to hold back. Today, he must change his attitude properly. The golden light sword has already provoked the opponent's anger. He directly unleashed his killing intent. Everyone felt that this was indeed something they needed to do. Then they started to spar in pairs. What Jin Guang saw was just ordinary sword swings. He has to demonstrate it in person first. Then he instantly attacked his master's uncle. Just as the Tang family head was about to leave, a surge of murderous intent erupted from the distance. I never expected someone would dare to do this in the Martial Arts Alliance. Not long ago, Jin Guang brought everyone to the training ground. They were going to practice releasing and controlling their killing intent. He must wait here for him to return. It seems he should also build a good relationship with Kunlun. When he arrives, many people are already at the entrance, but it seems the Kunlun people have all left. Wu Zun stated that it had nothing to do with him. It seems those two want to compete with him for disciples. He doesn't have time to stay here. He must go meet Jin Guang. The master won't let him go anywhere, but to take action. Seeing them move, Jin Guang told the junior brother to go back and cultivate. Their battle wasn't suitable for the junior brother to watch. The disdain of the two was soon known to the head of the Tang family. He said that as long as they stood their ground, the problem would be resolved. So he quickly left. No need to keep boasting about how impressive they are. Everyone else also felt this way. This left the two with no choice. At this moment, Shu and the others came over upon hearing the noise. It attracted quite a few onlookers. The crowd was very interested when they heard about the duel. In an instant, the two became the center of attention. Jin Guang believed they definitely wouldn't fight. Jin Guang really couldn't stand their constant arguing. He shouted at them to take their contemptuous words further away. The two didn't expect the boy to be so rude. They should put their arguments aside for a moment. It would be better to educate each other. He had to get the boy on his side. He immediately stepped forward to tell Jin Guangli. That old man from the beggar's sect is notorious for his bad character. Jie Zun can clearly hear their conversation. Then he also spoke ill of Gun Zun. This reminded Jie Zun of his master's words. When making a move, remember you're a beggar. As he tried again, it was indeed smoother than before. Chang Zun marveled that the boy could make adjustments after just one demonstration. Jie Zun thinks he doesn't know the power of Shizuan, so he wants to demonstrate his own strength. After watching, Jin Guang thinks it's indeed impressive. It might be even better if he could lower his body. This staff technique was originally meant to drive away vicious dogs. He saw two strange old men, who upon seeing him, asked if he was called Jin Guang. They were Shizuan's subordinates, Gunzan and Jiezuan. They don't understand why they should reject exclusivity. Jin Guang said it was simple. He already has a master, and prepared to leave the place. Early the next morning, Jin Guang was woken up by the sound of meat. As soon as he stepped out, he heard people arguing. Curious, he went to see who it was, but they knew that must be false. Wu Zun stated that he had encountered the best young person. If they met him, they would understand what he meant. The two were surprised that such an arrogant person would say that. Then they chatted for a bit more. The head of the family hoped he wouldn't cause trouble again. He immediately returned to his room. He didn't expect that the young people were unwilling to talk to him. At that moment, two old men appeared in front of him. They heard the rumors that he had attacked a disciple of Kunlun. He would inquire about his true intentions. The head of the family was just curious what attracted my father. He indicated he would pay more attention in the future. Jingguang returned to the family. My father asked what they talked about, but he would definitely not deceive himself. Nevertheless, he still wants to thank Jingguang. Finally, there's a reason to educate my father. Jingguang thought the other party would be furious. Jingguang thinks that doing nothing is the best choice. At this moment, someone mentioned that there are guests waiting to see the expert. The head of the family wants to meet Jingguang. He heard the whole story from his father. His father always does as he pleases. But the next moment, he lay there as if nothing had happened. This not only deceived everyone, but also framed Du Zun. It made everyone believe that he was the one behind it. The master then asked him what to do now. Du Zun didn't know what was happening. His son actually intended to attack him. The two masters quickly entered the room to check Jingguang's injuries. To their surprise, Jingguang was lying on the bed completely unharmed. Everyone thought he had been poisoned severely. I hope that along the way, I can continuously hear discussions about this matter, and each person's account gets more outrageous. When they returned, Du Zun was still shouting at the entrance. The head of the Tang family directly attacked his father. But then they thought something was wrong. They quickly asked what was going on. The disciple reported that Du Zun had attacked Jingguang. He hurried over to report this. Hearing this, the head of the Tang family apologized again. At that moment, a commotion caught their attention. Someone outside is shouting something about an ambush. The two senior uncles thought Jingguang had really made a move. Upon learning that Jingguang had been ambushed, they felt relieved. The onlookers didn't expect Du Zun to attack a Kunlun disciple. Meanwhile, the master uncle found the Tang family head. The family head apologized to everyone on behalf of his father. The master uncle only wanted him to know about this matter. He wasn't here to blame the Tang family. He came up with an idea. He then used his fingers to press his own acupoint, and immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. Then he shouted that he seemed to be poisoned. Du Zun claimed he hadn't done anything at all. Du Zun showed up now precisely because he knew this. Seeing the golden light, he really wanted to teach the other person a lesson. But thinking of his master and senior uncle, he held back. In order to make the other person leave quickly, he can only endure. Otherwise, he will be entangled with him continuously. The next morning, Du Zun came here again. Jingguang indicated that their elders were not present. Jingguang stated that having just one master was enough for him. In fact, he didn't want another person to nag him. If the other party comes again, he wants to secretly eliminate the master uncle and keep him from causing trouble. He indicated that this world is full of randomness. Afterward, Jingguang told the master and the master uncle about the situation. The two didn't understand why he wanted to try. Jingguang felt that this could improve his immunity. The master uncle then asked him what he thought of the proposal for exclusivity. So there are no regrets for Jingguang and Bailey. What he values is the boy's talent. So please consider it carefully. He will come again tomorrow. The master uncle saw him leave. Seeing this, Shu and the others asked what happened. Du Zun introduces himself as coming from the Tang family. He wants to take Jingguang as his disciple, but it's not a true master-disciple relationship. He just wants to impart his knowledge to him, and has never heard of repairing a dantian. But since it involved an elder, it shouldn't be a joke. So he said he wanted to give Jingguang a gift. That gift was to make him his disciple. Even so, Jingguang returned to his residence without agreeing. Such rudeness won't let him live long in this world. He must be protected by that old man all along. Then he asked about the injury of the corpse ancestor. Jingguang said he was actually cured. Du Zun has lived for so long. Jingguang knows that the Dominator is one of the 10 sovereigns. But the old man in front of him doesn't look like one at all. If this were in the demon sect, he would definitely get a lesson. The Dominator doesn't understand what his expression means. Didn't Elder Zhang from the sect tell him? An old man appeared, wanting to delay him a bit. Jingguang simply prepared to return to his residence. The old man didn't expect him to be so rude. In an instant, he appeared before him, introducing himself. But Du Zun inquired if he would change his mind now. She had fewer than her brother. Seeing that there were no other issues between the two, Jingguang decided to take his leave. Yilong, however, wanted to stay a little longer. Then Jingguang wandered around aimlessly. Then he began to gather his strength to resist them, and collect the essence of each item. He gave his opinions on each bottle, and pointed out which ones had room for improvement. Poison Phoenix was very unhappy. The disciple from Kunlun he heard about must be that child. The siblings have prepared a lot of poison here. This is everything they could produce. Jingguang did not hesitate. He directly drank it down. He was very curious about Jingguang's opinion on poison. Jingguang believes this depends on the user. The poison itself cannot be distinguished as good or bad. To prove its value, it depends on where it is used. In the distance, someone on the roof strongly agrees with Jing Guang's thoughts. He would come back to take the boy as his apprentice. Not long ago, Yilong brought Jing Guang to find Du Feng. Unexpectedly, there was another person waiting for them. He is Tang Wujuan, the young master of the Tang family. He heard a lot about him from his sister. Most people believe that dying is the best solution. The old man sees his younger self in the boy. The boy doubts how his face could possibly resemble his own. The angry old man asked what happened to his face. No matter what, Jing Guang does not understand their righteous thoughts. He asks if the Yilong would sacrifice themselves for the martial spirit alliance. Knowing full well that he cannot defeat the opponent, why would he seek death? Only by living can he continue to fulfill the duties of the martial spirit alliance. At this moment, Yilong felt Jing Guang was different from ordinary people. Jing Guang didn't understand what he meant. Is he supposed to cry like everyone else? After all, this is the Wuling Alliance. Yilong just didn't want him to attract unnecessary trouble. Here lies what the previous Wuling Alliance leader left behind, and some confiscated demonic sect weapons. Looking at these, Jing Guang's weapon shone with a golden light. Those people will definitely fight fiercely to seize it. She hoped he would invite Jing Guang. This proves Du Feng finds herself reliable. Before that, they still have time to go somewhere. It's the must-see Xianxia Pavilion. Jing Guang doesn't understand why it's built this way. Yilong heard he was coming. He specially came to find them. He wants to thank Jing Guang for his help. Du Feng took the initiative to talk to him. He then took his leave from here. Jing Guang could see his expression very clearly. If he had worldly thoughts, it would be easy to deal with. Entering the room. It's definitely much better than outside. Jing Guang thought the architecture here was quite remarkable. The place they lived in must not be too shabby either, but he was still mistaken. It felt like he had returned to Kunlun. Tang Xiong explained that once inside, it would all make sense. If it weren't for someone from the Pang family, he might not have been able to endure it. But that person's aura was different from those of the Pang family. Sooner or later, he will check the others' inner methods. Before long, they arrived at the Wuling Alliance. I didn't expect Jing Guang to also be blessing everyone. He remembered his brother once said that person would eventually be famous all over the world. He couldn't agree with that. Because the name that would spread throughout the world must be his, Pang Kangxiong. Ding Guang didn't understand why that person kept staring at him. Everyone hoped to receive their blessings. Although they had limited time, the masters still tried to bless everyone. The uncle reminded his nephew to learn their humility and modesty. Kangxiong was quite curious about what that young man was doing. This way, the people of Qinghai could be spared from obstacles. Jing Guang actually hoped he would become the alliance leader. This way, his idea of traveling the world can be realized. The next day, Kunlun and Pengjia headed to the Wuling Alliance. The common people saw them pass by. Then Jing Guang asked what kind of person the head of the Peng family was. The master said he was someone with a chivalrous spirit, so he would definitely honor his commitments to them. To resist the demon sect, he sent experts to Kunlun. He asks his master if he remembers the names of those people. Upon hearing this, he realizes they were all people who once betrayed him and fled. The bad deeds they committed are actually blamed on him. His master sees his expression. He thought he was hating the demon sect, so it's difficult to affect the demon cult. The former celestial demon was extremely evil. It constantly waged war in the central plains. Fortunately, the celestial demon is no longer around. Jing Guang remembers that he didn't do any of those things. The master hopes to speak with Jing Guang. Starting tomorrow, they will stay in the Wuling Alliance. He hopes he can learn something from all the various schools, but he should not get involved in the power struggles of those people. In the beginning, the leader of the Wuling Alliance will have little power. Never be enemies with that person. At that moment, Jing Guang and his master returned here. After the two met, they reminisced for a long time. We agreed to meet again tomorrow at dusk. After the other party leaves, then he went upstairs to find his master. At this time, his nephew Peng Kangxiong asked if it was him that his uncle was talking about, the one who helped Kong Wei. His uncle felt that he seemed to want to verify this, but he must heed his advice. Jing Guang felt that the junior disciple was improving quickly. At that moment, Xiaoer indicated that there were guests arriving. It was Pang Suyuan from the Pang family who came to visit. Jing Guang welcomed them warmly, and led everyone inside. After hearing it, his uncle felt Jing Guang repaid evil with good. But that sword dragon was really cured. Jing Guang indicated that in the future, the practice might just be for relaxation. The next morning, the junior disciple began training. But when he saw the expression on the girl he liked, he hated that man to death. And so, the reputation of the Kunlun demon spread. His uncle asked what exactly happened. Jing Guang explained the whole story. Jing Guang had already withdrawn. Then, the Stegosaurus flew up uncontrollably. It didn't know why it took off from the spot. Its body was completely out of its control. He originally wanted to explain that this wasn't his intention. This way, Jin Guang can know how to operate. The Stegosaurus seemed to realize his intentions, but was told not to get distracted. At that moment, Jin Guang instructed everyone to scatter after he counted to 3, before they understood what it meant. His instructions. Rather than saving the Stegosaurus, he cares more about the Nangong family's techniques. He makes the Stegosaurus accept his energy, and then channels his techniques to heal. Pterosaur could only turn to Jin Guang for help. Seeing how much pain he was in, no one understood why he didn't listen to Poison Phoenix. He asks the Stegosaurus if it is sure it wants to accept his help. Then, Jin Guang tells him to follow. Stegosaurus wanted to prove he was stronger than Jin Guang. Ignoring everyone's objections, he drank it. Almost immediately, he reacted. Everyone thought Poison Phoenix should save Stegosaurus. Poison Phoenix said there was nothing he could do. Jianlong had no choice. He took out everything he had. What he got in return was only 3 drops. He suspected that he was underestimated by the other party. Dufeng urged him to stop this dangerous action. If he wants it, he can pay the corresponding price. The silver in the swordsman's hand. Jin Guang felt it was a bit too little. The two of them fell into a stalemate like this. The Stegosaurus thought that was impossible. Could it be that the Poison Phoenix ignores that she likes the boy? He must prove that he is stronger than that person. Then he would let the Poison Phoenix give him the same special treatment. The golden light indicated that only what he held remained. Both of them couldn't believe it. Jianlong asked if he drank Miss Tang's special beverage. Jin Guang nodded. He thought it was indeed very delicious. The pterosaur confirmed his statement. He asked about their relationship. Quan Feng is also curious. Didn't they agree to have tea? Wu Feng referred to them as friends. They are going to study martial arts literature. The boy asked if Jin Guang was the Kunlun demon. He had heard Quan Feng mention it before. Then he introduced himself as being from the Nangong family. His family, Jianlong and Dufeng, suggested that Jin Guang and the other person leave. But Jianlong stopped them. Tang Yiji asked Jin Guang if he had time. He wanted him to evaluate his other works. At this moment, someone interrupted their conversation. It was Quan Feng who brought someone here. He didn't expect Jin Guang to be here as well. Tang Yiji never expected that he could guess his thoughts. Their conversation completely ignored Lu Zhengfeng. At this moment, Jin Guang placed his finger on the bottle mouth. He mixed the 3 sips he drank together, ignoring that a Tang family member could have such talent. It was designed to be immune to all poisons. After a while, Jin Guang stood up. He felt great. This seemed to have been developed specifically for negotiations. It had completely exceeded his expectations. Both of them saw his state and advised him to give up. Jin Guang, however, was able to distract himself. He made sure they wouldn't disturb him. In a past life, he created the fierce martial arts. They value skills more. So with his current resources and abilities, this is all he could produce. Jin Guang said he would savor it carefully. After thanking, he drank again. This time, it wasn't that easy. Tang had always doubted that he would have no reaction at all. He finally realized the other party's purpose for seeking him. So there was no need to hide anymore. Although he was a disciple of the Tang family, but the family only funds the best people. Unexpectedly, after Jin Guang drank it, he said it was too strong. Seeing this, Tang Yiji took out 2 bags. This time, 2 different things were fused together. To his surprise, Jin Guang drank it down without hesitation. After drinking, he said it tasted much better this time. Upon learning that the other party was the Kunlun demon, he mentioned that he had heard Quan Feng talk about him. Then he prepared a drink for Jin Guang. As long as he has had a drink, it's fine. He would agree to the lineup, because he was afraid Miss Tang would be hurt. From what he said, it seemed like he was destined to lose. Tang Yiji stated that he would eventually look down on him. He then ignored Lu Zhengfeng's self-introduction. Lu Zhengfeng hurried over to stop them. Tang Yiji asked why he wanted to stop them. Lu Zhengfeng had been secretly in love with him for several months, but he had never been able to voice his feelings. Today he had to say it. The boy had already downed it in one go, and hoped to have a stronger one. Before this, Jin Guang had proposed sparring for the first time, because he believed that practicing with the Tangmen could improve himself. He didn't know whether this person was crazy or confident. This drink, which even flies couldn't tolerate, told the boy that it was not fatal. As long as he can hold on, he will agree to spar with him. Before the other person finished speaking, then he walked up to the other person's table. He hoped to spar with him. Tang Yiji stated that his martial arts can't be sparred with. Once it starts, it's a fight to the death. Seeing the other person's fearless expression, Lu Zhengfeng said that would be life-threatening. The other party is Tang Yiji from the Tang family. He is known as the Poison Phoenix. Upon hearing this, Jin Guang thought it was just the opportunity he needed. He was just thinking of improving his tolerance. Noting that the weather was very nice today, then he asked Jin Guang how he performed. He couldn't speak whenever he saw the other party. Jin Guang suggested they have a sparring session. It might make a difference. Soon they arrived at an inn. Jingguang sat at a distance, observing the girl. The person gave him an exceptionally cold feeling. He let Lu Zhengfeng go over, saying he would see what was wrong. Lu Zhengfeng greeted Miss Tang. Then, he asked Lu Zhengfeng about his position in the Four Phoenixes of Jiulong. This question stumped Lu Zhengfeng, because he had not yet competed with everyone. Seeing oneself ask unnecessary questions, Jingguang urged to hurry up. He thought he should learn martial arts from other sects. At this time, Lu Zhengfeng came here again. He hoped Jingguang could accompany him to meet the person he likes. Upon learning the other person was also one of the Four Phoenix Wings, Jingguang decided to go have a look. Jingguang told him to think carefully about how to use the land. The junior brother thought he should consolidate his cultivation now. He heard that he would continue to help him. He immediately rushed out the door. And once again, only Jingguang was left alone, and opening his junior brother's meridians here. Still, here he was, doing just that. He has been completely changed by Kunlun. When the junior brother opened his eyes, it was already the next day. He was very grateful for the senior brother's help. The junior disciple thought his senior was being scolded, but he still wanted to know when he'd be taught the techniques. Then Jingguang prepared to open his meridians, telling him to endure the pain. At this moment, Jingguang didn't expect he'd be listening to his uncle master's teachings. When Yan Lu Zhengfeng thought it would be better to talk after the match. Back in the room, the master uncle hoped Jingguang could control his strength. Jingguang said he just threw a punch. Seeing this, Uncle Master decided to seriously explain things to Jingguang. He also wanted to personally experience the other party's strength, but Jingguang said that his master uncle asked him to return to the inn. If there is going to be a match, there won't be time to learn conversation skills. No one dared to challenge him anymore. Lu Zhengfeng didn't expect Jingguang to be this powerful. No wonder Pang Kongwei referred to him as a master. It has been 4 years since that incident. In 4 years, how much could a person like him grow? Seeing this, Nangonging also drew his sword. He hopes the other party won't regret it. Unexpectedly, he was sent flying with just one move. Then Jingguang asked who was next. Everyone that followed was defeated by him with a single move. The master uncle feels he truly deserves to be called the pterosaur. But if this matter ends like this, at this moment, Jingguang should teach those people a lesson. The master uncle just wants him to administer a slight punishment. Jingguang can only try his best. At this moment, Lu Zhengfeng could no longer stand it. How could he behave like this in front of his elders? He would inform their family about today's events. The future of the righteous sect worried him greatly. He then apologized to the uncle on behalf of these people. Since that's the case, Nangonging thought they needed to have a contest. Hearing this, Jingguang looked over at his uncle. The uncle noticed that the other party completely disregarded him as an elder. This was a display of contempt for their Kunlun sect. The leader introduced himself as Nangonging. He heard that Jingguang had been disrespectful to Miss Yen. Jingguang remembered he had been praising her all along. He didn't know what their relationship was, but he felt he hadn't done anything wrong. He interrupted them. Lu Zhengfeng hurriedly stood up to bow. The master uncle asked what Jingguang had done. Many people have come outside looking for him. After Jingguang came out, he heard him complimenting Miss Yen. Lu Zhengfeng thinks it's great. Then he asks where his problem lies. The junior disciple thinks the problem might be that he is a beggar. At that moment, the master uncle walked in. The boy directly handed over a banknote. The beggar stated that he just wanted to learn how to talk to girls. The boy then introduced him to the junior disciple who had never been in a relationship. The junior disciple felt that this was somewhat inappropriate. However, Jingguang had already started praising him. Half a day passed like this. Jingguang acquired a lot of land. Now it's his turn to help Lu Zhengfeng solve his problems. Jingguang decided to send the junior disciple out. He hopes he can do him a favor. In fact, Jingguang doesn't trust those people at all. He hopes that the beggar's sect will secretly help him monitor them. But this still doesn't put him at ease. He asks his junior brother to also inquire about the market prices. If he does well, he will teach him some skills. He will make them repay 10 times the compensation. But if things go smoothly, he will reward a few of them. After a few left, he asked Lu Zhengfeng if he understood his meaning. Lu Zhengfeng hopes he will keep his promise. But he also needed help for himself. At this moment, a few people came to interrupt them. The assistant brought in the best real estate agents. Jingguang hopes they can help him acquire undervalued land. If they dare to deceive him. Jingguang still thought that he liked Yan Yizhen. Seeing the other person so sincerely asking for advice, Jingguang considered what he could gain from him. Then he thought of the beggar's clan's ability to gather intelligence. So he agreed to the other person's request. Regardless, he wants to learn from Jingguang. Pang Kongwei once said that Jingguang helped him. He hopes he can help himself now too. He deeply loves a woman, but he didn't dare to speak. Lu Zhengfeng asked Jingguang how he could speak like that. What Miss Yen said is nothing beautiful, yet he doesn't dare to say much to the girl. Jin Guang doesn't understand why a beggar would be afraid. Lu Zhengfeng insists that it has nothing to do with being a beggar. He didn't expect the other person to eat so much, but the other party said he didn't mean it that way either. He wanted to talk to Jin Guang privately. It would be best if they were in a place without anyone watching. Then the two of them went to the backyard, originally known as Ilong, one of the 9 dragons and 4 phoenixes. But what Jin Guang heard was just a beggar. He then handed over the banknotes. Lu Zhengfeng stated that he didn't mean it that way. Upon hearing this, Jin Guang let him into the inn. But upon learning that he had never been in a relationship, the next morning, the waiter said someone was asking to see him. They wanted to meet a Taoist named Jin Guang. The visitor introduced himself as Lu Zhengfeng from the beggar's gang. He should have praised the other person's face first. Jin Guang thinks the junior disciple understands women well. He asks him how many girlfriends he has had. Seeing him not speak, Jin Guang assumes he can't count them all. Everyone was speechless after hearing this. The junior brother didn't expect Jin Guang to say that. The 4 phoenixes of Jiulong's punch. The 5 masters of the fist indeed take pride in their fists, but saying that is still somewhat inappropriate. The girl remains silent. Jin Guang felt that he couldn't directly drive her away. At that moment, Yan Yizhen spoke up, calling him a remarkable person. Hearing this, Jin Guang thought he should compliment her too. So he said her calloused hands were really beautiful. Then she asks Jin Guang about his purpose again. Jin Guang's answer is very simple: to make money, and also to eat well and live well. After he finished speaking, she wanted to know why, as Taoists, they needed to buy land. Jin Guang is curious about who he is. Why is he asking himself? The girl knows she has been a bit rude. She introduces herself as Yan Yizhen from the Yan family in Jinju. He feels they should acquire the land. The conversation caught the girl's attention. Just as everyone was returning to the inn, the girl called out to Jin Guang. She wanted to ask him a few questions. The city's development had been rapid. Jin Guang asked the junior brother where it would be best to invest. The junior brother replied that they are, after all, disciples of Kunlun. Why do I always think about making money every day? But after hearing that Jin Guang can teach himself techniques to improve quickly, and so, the Kunlun group left Xi'an. But no one escaped Jin Guang's training. Not long after, they arrived in Hunan, where the martial alliance is based. The martial uncle allowed everyone to explore the city first. Due to the martial alliance's presence, Jin Guang thought it would be worth a visit sometime. He then returned to the inn. Shu asked him where he had gone. Jin Guang said he had gone for morning exercises. If anyone wants to join, they can come along tomorrow. He had received a token. It was a symbol of Hu Yujin's identity. After learning this, he felt it was a useless item. However, the other party told him that he could exchange the token for a weapon at the family. His family specializes in forging and is known as the Iron Blood family. Unexpectedly, he said that the calluses on her hands looked nice. With that thickness, she could probably crush a boulder with a punch. Seeing the girl's reaction, he felt he might have gone a bit overboard with the praise. Before this, if he gets involved, it will be different. Neither side can handle it publicly. If he plays the intermediary, he can achieve his goal. Now that Jin Guang helped him solve the problem, he will charge a fee. Everyone thought he would compliment the girl on her beauty. Jin Guang thinks he might be an actor. After figuring it out, Jin Guang decided to go back to sleep. He suggested that Hu Weijin could start from Mount Huashan in Jiangnan. The previous officer's office would definitely demand compensation. Seeing this, Jin can only say he came to establish a branch. After hearing this, Jin Guang knows this is aimed at the Wuling Alliance. It spreads the evil demon Lotus. At the same time, it threatens the righteous Wulin. Jin Guang didn't expect him to be so self-absorbed. Then he asked him about his purpose in Xi'an. But the other man stayed silent. Jin Guang is preparing to sell himself and these things. The Wulin Alliance should be very interested in him. Jin Guang thought his status must be quite low. He didn't have anything valuable on him. Without any sign. Only people of high status carry nothing. But he is the chief disciple of the Jade Kirin. The opponent surprisingly pulled out a weapon. It completely disregarded what they said earlier. But this had no impact on the outcome of the fight. When I opened my eyes again, I found that the golden light was searching his body. Jin Guang feels there is too much nonsense, and is now in front of him. I thought one punch would be enough. I didn't expect the opponent to react so quickly. As I prepared to throw another punch, Hu Yujin can only take action. Seeing this, Jin Guang hopes to change the location. They then went to the back mountain. Hu Weijin stated that as a man, he would speak with his fists. He has no interest in this kind of alliance at all. Although he agrees with what he said, he wants Kunlun to be excluded. So he hopes that he won't bother him anymore. Since there's no way to communicate, he didn't expect the other party to be peeking at them while they slept. The blue person claims to be a fox spirit from the Demon Alliance. He feels that Jin Guang is more suited to them than the righteous faction. The righteous faction is only after profit and power. Jin Guang directly refused after hearing this. The junior disciple didn't expect them to frame someone else. Jingguang said that was what Xiao said himself. He never claimed to be from any sect. At night, Jingguang noticed someone was watching them. He then appeared behind that person. The master uncle asked the junior disciple if he knew what had just happened. Jingguang reassured the junior disciple. Don't be afraid. They had no idea about this at all. The master could only believe that they had left here. He must go to determine if it was the work of Jingguang. But both of them said they had never left here. Only then did the master uncle feel relieved. But after going out, he still felt something was off. He must ask the two again. They even deliberately inquired about who did it. The disciple didn't want to mention it in front of Kunlun, because everyone was saying it was done by their two factions. Then the master uncle prepared to find Jingguang. He asked me if he knew that Huashan and Jiangnan couldn't possibly do this, and hurriedly asked who did it. The disciple looked toward the uncle from Kunlun sect. It indicates that they are two young Taoists. The master uncle immediately thought of Jingguang. The two of them knew they must be disciples of Kunlun. He won't change his mind. Prepare to leave here. At this moment, a disciple reported to the ambassador. The four beauties of Xian were just attacked. The two knew their family. A man in the distance has been watching this with great interest. He has developed a strong interest in Jingguang. On another side, Huashan and Jiangnan are persuading Kunlun not to support the Peng family. The master didn't expect them to be so bold. Turns out their relationship with the Peng family isn't like that. He asked what to do. Jingguang thinks that teaching a lesson to bad people is nothing. Xiao hopes that the two of them will definitely save him. Jingguang tells him to push everything onto himself. Then he asks if he has heard of the 9 great sects. Then the 4 of them were thrown down from the 3rd floor. In an instant, a crowd gathered to watch. Someone recognized their identities. All 4 of their families are prominent families in Xian. The younger apprentice realized they had caused big trouble. Only then did the 4 stop. They looked over here. The junior disciple expressed that they couldn't cause trouble here. But they have already come over. Hurry up and give up your seat. I didn't expect a poor Taoist to be stealing food here. He immediately told the waiter that they needed to sit here. Seeing that the waiter dared to resist him, it seems he doesn't know the power of the 4 heroes of Xian. At this moment, Jingguang asked someone to get him another bottle. Jingguang said everything is emptiness. No need to overthink it. Besides, he was speaking too loudly. There were other guests. The 4 who came up immediately noticed them. It was his brother's first time dining at a restaurant. He pulled out a silver note worth 100 taels. He asked the waiter to serve the best food and wine. Junior brother felt this wasn't appropriate. After all, they are Taoists. The waiter warmly invited them to dine upstairs, because the view up there is great. At this moment, Jingguang noticed something. A person in the distance had been watching him, and they didn't seem trustworthy. Afterward, they disguised themselves and went to the restaurant. Jingguang pulled out a 100-tael note. The junior brother hurriedly stepped forward to stop him. He will be responsible for finances in the future. If we don't, we'll run out sooner or later. The junior brother noticed that the 2 sects seemed to be watching them. Jingguang, however, paid no attention to their intentions. He just wanted to enjoy his time in Xian. Then he would let his junior brother change into different clothes. He planned to go have a meal first. The 2 of them eagerly hoped to stay at the inn they were at. The elder knew they must have joined forces because of the martial arts alliance. They wanted Kunlun to join the camp they were supporting. It didn't really matter either way. Thus, everyone from Kunlun also stayed at the inn. They were people from the Huashan sect and the Jiangnan sect. The 2 sects, competing for interests, were close together. At the same time, they also noticed Shu. After some small talk, the elder prepared to take his leave. They still hadn't found a place to stay. The next day, Kunlun and the others left here. A few days later, they arrived in Xian. Jingguang regretted not leaving the demon sect in his past life. The outside world is so beautiful. At this moment, the Shu saw 2 familiar faces. He will personally go find them. Seeing that everyone agreed to join the fight, Jingguang called the Lord to check the results. If there are any issues, you can write to notify him. Now, just settle the remaining payment. He could take control. Then Jingguang assigned them their duties. He can accurately state each person's name, even their hometowns. So if someone runs away, he knew that everyone present wanted to escape. But it didn't matter. He could find everyone. The crowd didn't believe that with so many people. Jingguang can only guarantee that those people won't cause trouble later on. If not, that's fine too. He has other matters to attend to. The Lord can only agree for the sake of the future. Then Jingguang gathered everyone. Jingguang stated that as a disciple of Kunlun, he did not receive public funds from others. The Lord believes that they should receive considerable blessings for eliminating the bandits. And yet, they still want to charge him such a high fee. He hopes to get a discount. Then he handed over something for the Lord to take a look at first. The Lord saw it was a request detail document. He had a bad premonition. I didn't expect even the ropes for tying up the mountain bandits would have a fee. There are also many inexplicable charges. Upon hearing this, everyone became much more courteous. After the Lord learned that the boy in the letter was him, he sent his men to invite him privately. I didn't expect Jin Guang to bring someone along. Jin Guang explained that his junior disciple knows a lot about market prices. Only then did they realize they were here to go to the battlefield. The people in the manor thought these men didn't seem like good people. They looked like they were about to start a fight at any moment. At that moment, Jin Guang told them to watch their behavior. If they went too far, they should be aware of the consequences. Thus, the group arrived in Gansu. The Lord of Gansu had been waiting at the city gate for a long time. The Lord of Qinghai had already informed him of the news. He had prepared a welcoming feast. During the banquet, the Lord kept thanking the people from Kunlun. Jin Guang didn't expect that he knew nothing. It seems something has happened within the demonic sect, but he no longer wanted to be involved. He immediately let the leader go with him. He would teach him some practical martial arts. So he revealed everything. He saved an old man when he was a child. He taught him martial arts as a way to repay him. He didn't even know the old man's name, but the old man's face was covered in scars. Jingguan Shaodao is a demonic sect technique. Could he be from one of the 7 great families of the demonic sect? If that's the case, then he cannot be allowed to live. The leader indicated it was not that way. Jin Guang indicated that the man was just unconscious. Don't expect anyone to come save him. You'd better answer honestly. How did you learn that skill? The leader said it's a family martial art. Immediately, the leader swung his knife and approached him. At the moment of the strike, it emitted a dazzling light. I don't know how long it passed. The leader woke up. Only his subordinate lay beside him. The old man once told him not to use this move casually. If recognized, his life could be at risk. At the same time he used the skill, Jin Guang recognized the move. In the moment of being stunned, he was already controlled. He still feels that his appearance doesn't look like a good person. A likable appearance was specially designed for him. The bandit leader knows he hasn't won. Perhaps he can only choose to use that skill. He was actually quite interested to see how he would attack. The leader knew it was a matter of life and death. He had to use that move. Jin Guang didn't understand why the other side would use this move. Although similar, it seemed different. Then the leader was directly knocked back. Jin Guang thinks it's best for him to give up. But the leader said he wouldn't yield no matter how many punches he took. Thus, countless fists struck his body. Jin Guang didn't expect him to be so resilient. The leader thinks he is dreaming. He tells him not to dodge. Fight himself properly. There's no way out. Jin Guang can only agree. He directly attacked the other party, but he couldn't hit him at all. Instead, his own hair and beard were shaved off. Jin Guang felt that this new look suited him better. Now I can go to Gansu by myself. If Kunlun dares to block them, they would eliminate them together. At this moment, a person appeared at the door. His subordinate indicated that the newcomer was a Taoist from Kunlun. Jin Guang heard that he was looking for him. The leader let out a loud laugh. The leader inquired why the recent shipments had decreased significantly. His subordinates explained that it was all due to the changes in the route taken by the Baijia trading group. Moreover, the backing of that group was Kunlun. The leader didn't care about that. He decided to gather his men. These people are too weak. They might not be very useful on the battlefield. He then asked his junior brother if there were any stronger opponents nearby. Upon learning about a powerful stronghold, he prepared to head to another nearby stronghold. When the powerful care about their reputation, the powerless will suffer. As they approached Gansu, the group had already grown to over 500 people. Jin Guang felt that this was still not enough. It has never harmed ordinary people. The junior apprentice asked, "Aren't you afraid that Jin Guang will affect the sect's reputation?" The master said, "Kunlun never cares about false fame. If the people are bullied, they will come back to teach them a lesson." This is the first lesson that Jin Guang taught his junior apprentice. The master said, although Jin Guang's plan is somewhat rough, Jin Guang believes that as long as he stops others from coming, it will be fine. Then he led the bandits to the room. Before long, they turned over a new leaf. Jin Guang would take away some of the people. The remaining people must defend the territory. He kicked open the gate. Just like that, all 4 villains of Xining were eliminated by him. However, the younger disciple felt that this might be bad for the common people. The other villains would definitely come here once they found out. The new competition will inevitably harm the people, but the other side lacks the necessary strength. Upon hearing this, Jin Guang came up with a good idea. He let the people he had captured follow him. Then he and the Lord's followers arrived at the snake den. Jin Guang didn't say much. To stay here, he spent a lot to smooth things over, because he just wants to enjoy life with his wife. Jin Guang asked if there were no other candidates. Actually, if the Lord of Gansu could achieve military merit, it would work. Then, he reluctantly took off a ring from his hand. If he pawned this, it would be worth 20 times the silver notes. If it weren't for the higher-ups wanting him to go to the palace for treatment, he could offer more. Then the Lord personally rewarded him with a bag of silver notes, but he felt it was too little. It should be at least 10 times more than this. It seems the other party is poorer than expected. After hearing this, the Lord decided to give him one more thing, eliminating the mountain bandits in the Yellow River region, and cleared the snow from the Tangula Mountains. The government rewarded them to recognize his achievements, but everyone feels uncomfortable wearing new clothes. That is monks, they cannot accept gifts. The Lord is not here for personal reasons, but for official business. Previously, Jing Guang developed the Kaidam Basin. It was Jing Guang who stepped in to save her. The Lord has always wanted to express his gratitude to them, but for some reason, they seem unwilling to see him. The master uncle said. A person dressed like an official appeared at the door. They didn't expect the Lord of Qinghai to come. He warmly called Jing Guang his nephew. By Genuan's Jing Guang was clearly an orphan. It turns out the Lord's wife was seriously ill 2 years ago. And so, he became a Taoist priest. He never expected to join Kunlun for this reason. Jing Guang told him not to think too much, just follow him from now on. Just as everyone was preparing to set off, he wants to become a Taoist priest. When asked about his reasons for joining Kunlun, he originally wanted to say something noble, but his master uncle hoped he would express his true thoughts. In fact, he felt that the martial arts he saw were too difficult. Yang Qiuzu replied that he and the Zhou family would no longer take action against the Baijia Commerce Guild. Everyone cheered. Kunlun is amazing. The second young master believes that he too will have a day like this. Ignoring his mother's objections, when he regained consciousness, he didn't know how long had passed. Yang Qiuzu knew he had lost, but that didn't mean Kong Tong had lost. His master uncle asked if he had anything else to say. He immediately unleashed his strongest sword technique. Jing Guang found the name of the technique ridiculous. Only he could make the demonic sect submit. Yang Qiuzu didn't expect that he would actually use a sword. He didn't understand why he felt threatened by the boy. That feeling was like a celestial demon. He thinks these are just illusions, but he is unable to hit the opponent. This completely infuriated him. The boy's speed and strength astonished him. In the final move, he leaned behind him. Then, with one punch, he broke his weapon. Jing Guang thought this was interesting. Yang Qiuzai didn't expect the boy to be so terrifying. Jing Guang, however, feels it won't be necessary. Seeing this, Yang Qiuzu doesn't want to bully the weak. He decides to give the other side 3 moves. Unexpectedly, he hasn't finished speaking. The opponent has already attacked. Not to go back on their word. He will also rise up in the name of Kongtong. Just now, Jing Guang did not act. Let the other side come at him with all they have. Yang Qiuzu hopes he will draw his sword. I don't know how Kunlun teaches its disciples. The master uncle indicates that it was actually the golden light flood dragon. If they don't believe it, they can disdainfully end this matter. Yang Qiuzai asked them to swear in the name of Kunlun. Before long, Zhou Huanxue fainted. Her master uncle saw that the outcome was clear. He hoped the opponent would keep their promise. Yang Qiuzai cannot back down like this. His disciple has already been beaten like this. Zhou Huanxue didn't say much. She initiated the attack, but she couldn't land a hit on her opponent at all. This technique was completely ineffective. She didn't even need to use a sword. Since neither side can be satisfied, the master suggested they have a contest. Let the source of the incident resolve this matter. This is exactly what Zhou Huanshan wanted. Immediately, everyone went outside the tent. Elder Kongtong knew that his disciples' plan had already failed, and stated that this was their private matter. I hope Kunlun won't interfere. The master cannot agree, because the Zhou family attacked their disciple. Some said they were incited by the Zhou family to attack the Baijia Merchants Guild. Zhou Huanxue didn't understand what they were talking about. They must have been threatened by these people. Xingwan didn't expect that he didn't even trust his own people. He confirmed that the people had been brought over. It was exactly the Zhou family members he had dealt with before. Zhou Huanshu was very happy to see these people. He conveyed that they had been threatened by the other party. Only then can we save them. Zhou Huanxue said the people from Kunlun would soon go to Hunan. Wait until they leave before making a move. It went on like this until evening. They finally met the Baijia merchant group. At that moment, Jing Guang walked in. At this moment, Shu noticed someone even more troublesome. Yang Xiuji, an elder of the Kongtong sect. He didn't expect Kongtong to come here so openly. They could only greet them properly first. On the other hand, Yang Xiuji didn't know what they were waiting for. The leader stated that he is Zhou Huanxue, a disciple of the Kongtong secular family, and a member of the Guardian team. But no matter who he is, they must queue behind them. Zhou Huanxue didn't expect these people to be so disrespectful. He could only wait obediently in the back. The master uncle told him that these people are the guardians of Jing Guang. Thanks to them, the days in Kunlun are not so boring. At this moment, the Zhou family arrived with a group of people. When they were about to go out to eat, the master uncle noticed that quite a few people had arrived outside. He thought it was the Zhou family, but it was just a group of women. Seeing this, Genuan didn't know what to make of it. The Golden Light Taoist thinks he is not that bad. He has already been an old monster for 19 years. I really need a junior disciple to serve me. The night passed just like that. Nothing happened. The second young master wonders what will happen if he is with the girl. The golden light piques his curiosity. He decides to become a Taoist to find out. The second young master feels that his talent might not be sufficient. Otherwise, his uncle wouldn't have rejected him. The boy also wanted to join the Kunlun sect. But he didn't really want to be a Taoist, because then he wouldn't be able to do anything. Jin Guang suggested he could secretly eat meat. But if the wine is discovered, it will be locked away for 6 months. He turned and ran. He was gently pushed by someone. He just went with the momentum and lay down, shouting. He was worried about not having a reason to teach the other party a lesson. Seeing how powerful he was, even if joining is impossible, why can't we have a proper conversation? It was like this 19 years ago. He didn't expect to have such a brother. Sushi didn't know how to deal with his sister. Jin Guan was also unclear. He told him to ask the master uncle. The master uncle didn't wait for him to speak. Direct refusal. The wet nurse didn't expect him to treat his own son this way. But they also cannot do anything incorrect. So they will help the merchant group until the end. The master uncle arranged for someone to keep watch at night to prevent a surprise attack. He had someone stand guard. The second young master asked if there were any external disciples in Kunlun. Jin Guang stated that they were planning to seize the Bai family business group before assisting Kunlun. Bai Genuan felt that this matter might involve an airdrop. The master and others went outside. The elder had told them not to do anything that would damage Kunlun's reputation. They must not go against this decree. He could only retaliate in self-defense. After returning home, no one expected the other party to be so despicable. Bai Genuan thanked Jin Guang again for his help. The master asked what they had learned from those people. The wet nurse instantly understood. She also shouted that the Zhou family was hitting people. Everyone felt that this scene was extraordinarily familiar. At this moment, Jin Guang stood up. He stated that they had acted first. He just wanted to say something. Jin Guang was already in front of him. Frightened, the leader instinctively pushed him away. Jin Guang unexpectedly fell to the ground. Then he shouted loudly. The leader didn't understand why he judged people by their appearance. Inquiring about how to deal with his injured subordinates, Jin Guang stated that these people were already lying on the ground when he arrived. The leader didn't expect that righteous disciples would act this way. He must stay alert. Suddenly, he recognized that the person in front of him was Jin Yuru from Kunlun. He knew he was no match for her. He hurriedly revealed his identity. Qingguan looked at him and thought he didn't seem like a good person. He seemed more like a bandit, blocking them. Right after that, the wet nurse rushed over, asking if her son was hurt. The leader didn't know what was happening. Everything happened so quickly. Due to the difference in numbers, they were quickly all captured. They were preparing to cripple the second young master's arms. Just as they were about to act, Jin Guang arrived here. The subordinate stepped forward and grabbed the other person's arm. The second young master didn't know what he was going to do. He instinctively shook him off. Unexpectedly, the person shouted that the Bai family was attacking. This gave them a reason to strike. At this time, the second young master had already been surrounded. He wanted to reason with them, but constantly mocked. Seeing how patient he is, the leader signaled his subordinates to act. After interrogation, they learned it was the Zhou family from the Kongtong sect. At this moment, an artist came in and said there was a problem. The second young master had a conflict with the Zhou family escort agency. Jin Guang learned it was the wet nurse's second son. He decided to go with them. He felt the bandits wouldn't just stop because of a few harsh words. The wet nurse suspected it was the Kongtong sect, but she wasn't sure yet. After the last encounter with the killers, they found the spy. Its durability is the best in the world. Jin Guang channeled his internal power to the third level and struck. Unexpectedly, it remained completely intact. He really liked this gift. Then he asked who the leader of those people might be. Jin Guang hoped they could have a normal conversation. He clearly remembered what the wet nurse used to be like. The wet nurse shyly took out a gift. She thought Jin Guang would definitely like it. She made a piece of clothing using the tail Jin Guang gave her before. It was all because the other side hired bandits to prepare to eliminate them. Jin Guang felt that the other side must lack confidence in winning. The master decided to investigate first before proceeding. Then Jin Guang stayed here drinking with friends. The wet nurse didn't expect him to grow up this much. But this caused dissatisfaction among the merchants from Gansu. The master understood the other party's intentions. However, they at Kunlun found it inconvenient to participate in the merchants' competition. Bai Genuan stated that, if that were the case, he would not seek help. The team leader's master recognized Jin Guang in them, so they returned to their residence together. Then they inquired about the specifics of the situation. The cause was that they opened a shortcut to the western regions. Various small merchants started doing business along the way. Jin Guang didn't expect to see them. It was his childhood wet nurse and her husband. The two introduced themselves. They are from the Baijia merchant group. They earnestly request help to rescue the merchants in Shanghai. Traveling through each village, they prayed with the villagers. Before they knew it, they arrived in Xining. Without waiting to enter the city, two people rode up. But he couldn't shake the feeling that Su Qing might also become a problem. In any case, he hoped everyone would return safely and fulfill the agreement with the Pine family. Kunlun sent disciples. 10 days later, everyone prepared to set off. Elder Chang looked toward the golden light in the distance. For some reason, he suddenly felt uneasy. He could only hope Su Qing could take good care of his disciple. At this time, the elder of the Longjiao expressed that he would select a few people as representatives to go. Of course, Jin Guang's name appeared among them. He had already strengthened the internal power of Kunlun. Now it was time to enhance the external power as well. For example, in business, Elder Chang received a letter from the Pine family. He immediately summoned everyone to the hall for discussion, to indicate that they needed to fulfill the promise made 4 years ago. Jin Guang listened to the discussions of the crowd. He recalled that this was what the person meant at that time. Thanks to his appearance, my wishes could be fulfilled. Jin Guang shyly expressed that the corpse ancestor really stinks. Another year passed like this. If he leaves now, it is indeed too early. He is grateful to Jin Guang for reminding him that there is still much to do. He hopes to hold him one more time. Jin Guang doesn't understand why he suddenly wants to hug the corpse ancestor. It should be him who is angry. Suddenly, the corpse ancestor thought of something. Is Jin Guang's idea also the hope of all the Kunlun disciples? He works so hard to save himself, yet he just wants to walk away. The corpse ancestor wanted to ascend but was interrupted. Everyone looked at this in disbelief. Jin Guang didn't expect the corpse ancestor to try to leave like this. The corpse ancestor didn't understand why he was angry. He was interrupted from achieving immortality. He has seen through life and death. Everything will return to nothingness. He is very grateful for everyone's efforts on his behalf. At this time, Jin Guang asks the corpse ancestor where to go. The situation became quite awkward. Although the ancestor of corpses did not regain his martial arts, but he has gotten quite strong. At the same time, the side effects are hard for him to accept. He actually pooped his pants. No matter what, you must not stop. He has to expel the accumulated stagnant energy from years. With a loud bang, a strange smell wafted in. Jin Guang felt that he must have succeeded. The medicinal power is burning in his dantian. Jin Guang urged his master ancestor to quickly circulate the Kunlun heart method. He could see the shattered dantian beginning to recover. Jin Guang finally felt relieved. He let the grandmaster continue. Jin Guang asked the grandmaster to stop him from spitting out the medicine. All efforts will be in vain. Next time he will carefully consider the taste issue. Actually, the taste is secondary. The main concern is his body. Hurry and take them. The master felt that this medicine might not cure him, but the whole sect worked so hard for him. Even if just to reassure them, he would finish it. However, the taste of the medicine was truly hard for him to swallow. They finally produced the miraculous pills, but no one knew why the white turned black. Jin Guang couldn't tell everyone it was because his hands were too dirty. Soon, a few people brought the pills to the master. Jin Guang urged him not to hesitate. Finally, they gathered all the materials. Upon their return, as the flames that had burned for 10 months extinguished, they finally completed the first step. The soup had turned white. Golden light enveloped some of it as they began refining. He would go with those people to gather the remaining materials. In the days that followed, Jin Guang first arrived at the Kaidam Basin. Then he came to the banks of the Yellow River, asking the bandits to help him find dragon-scaled fish. Next, they rushed to the Tangula Mountains to search for snow ginseng. Seeing this, everyone felt he couldn't handle the task. Elder Zhang Jiao felt that they must leave here as soon as possible. However, they were still discovered by Jin Guang's intentions. Elder Zhang Jiao expressed that he wanted to help those who had not returned. Jin Guang believed that only he could complete the task of keeping the fire. It is necessary to use internal strength to blow the fire to its limit. Only by doing this continuously for 10 months can it work. Then he asked his master to give it a try. Su Qing felt that it shouldn't be too difficult, but after a short while, he was already exhausted. After everyone got ready, they began to cook the dragon horn. Su Qing reassured them. Firewood will be added continuously, but Jin Guang said that this is still not enough. Back to Kunlun, he first inquired about the corpse ancestor. Learning that there was nothing unusual, he instructed them to prepare a large pot. He estimated that the materials needed to simmer for 10 months. Then, Jin Guang said he had urgent matters to attend to. He said his goodbyes and left. To save someone, he cut off the legendary monster's foot. He also forced it to hand over half of the monster core. This outing can be considered somewhat fruitful. Jin Guang explained it was just a lizard's tail. He said it was useless. If they want it, just give it to them. The two felt this should be the tail of the double-footed salon. They didn't expect to receive such a valuable gift. He looks at the salon again. Not long after, the couple finally found Jin Guang. Jin Guang was standing still, practicing his energy. He didn't expect them to track him all the way here. At this moment, the woman noticed something on the ground. The golden light helped him train his core well. This way, it will regenerate, making it easier for him to come back and obtain it next time. After putting it in the bag, Jin Guang wonders if there's anything else to take. He told him not to worry. Don't be afraid. But after stabbing for a long time, I still couldn't find where. I don't know how much time has passed. Finally, I obtained half. The golden light finally stopped. The old Shalon wasn't this resilient. He's much weaker now. He made Shalon expose his chest, ready to take half of his monster core. Sharon smiled. Jin Guang was not buying it. He kicked the opponent away. He had to teach this guy a good lesson. No one knows how much time passed. This is a great opportunity for him to eliminate the opponent. He swallowed it in one gulp. He was quite satisfied. Jin Guang next to him asked if he was crazy. To ease the awkwardness, he has been disabled for a month. Then he told Shalon not to run around anymore, preparing to leave. Shalon felt that this person was much weaker than before. Maybe a sneak attack could succeed, but as long as he keeps chopping, he unfortunately cannot break it. Not sure how long it has been. He finally cut off the sharp horn. To obtain this thing, it's best not to move recklessly. Jin Guang doesn't say much either, and aims for Salon's foot, but he just can't cut through it. Perhaps he has become too young now. He revealed the head with the broken foot. The golden light was grateful that he had left a foot back then, but he was just running around randomly, making himself search here for a month. If you don't want to be punished. It was the legendary creature, the bipedal sand dragon. But he looked at the boy in front of him with some fear. The golden light made him obediently lower his tail. That aura was unusually familiar. The golden light kept racing through the desert. He didn't expect that guy to be so troublesome, but escaping wasn't going to be that easy. He thrust his sword into the ground. A gigantic creature sprang out of the desert. Grateful for his help, Jin Guang stated it was just a small effort. At this moment, he noticed something. Instantly left this place, rushed toward the distance. They have already met their end. Jin Guang had no intention of letting anyone go. He wouldn't let them commit evil again. Thus, all the bandits were eliminated by him. The couple was very. These people's strength was hardly worth mentioning. As his blade rose and fell, they all turned into fragments. The remaining ones, seeing they were no match, chose to flee, when the leader ordered them to come back immediately. But they're just a bunch of small thieves. Furious, the leader charged over. Jin Guang had no idea what he said wrong. He immediately disappeared in front of everyone. When he reappeared, he was already in front of the desert bandits. Upon hearing this, the two finally recalled that expression. Jin Guang said to drink after resolving the trouble. The bandit leader was furious after being ignored. The boy surely doesn't know who they are. Jin Guang really hasn't heard of these people. Then, a figure descended from the sky. Jin Guang didn't expect to meet someone familiar in such a desolate place. But the two didn't remember knowing the boy. That unforgettable face. The other party actually doesn't remember that they used to be their babysitters. They fell into a disadvantage. Just as the leader ordered no one to be spared, countless sword auras in the sky attacked. The smoke cleared. The desert bandits were completely wiped out. The man ordered his men to prepare for battle. Both sides quickly clashed to protect the caravan. The bandit leader saw they weren't just an ordinary caravan. He commanded all his men to join the fight. Due to the large number of bandits, today, their caravan is slowly growing. But the love between the two remains unchanged. This has made others envious. At this moment, smoke filled the distance. It was the notorious desert bandits. But they were refused on the grounds of a more important matter for the Kunlun sect. At that time, a Taoist found them with a baby. He hoped they could teach him how to take care of the child. As a result, they gave up seeking help and became caregivers. They also met a lovely child named Jin Guang. Jin Guang left Kunlun. This was his first journey since his reincarnation. He would return as soon as possible. 7 years ago, his ex-wife and her brother sought help from Kunlun. Jin Guang could only show his martial arts skills. The head elder thought that having someone follow him would indeed be a burden. The two looked at each other. They reminded Jin Guang to be safe. After saying goodbye to them, the head elder expressed that they believe Jin Guang can do it. This situation made Jin Guang feel a bit awkward. 3 days later, Jin Guang divided them into 3 groups. He would also go out to look for materials. Seeing that the two insisted on sending someone with him, though it's not easy to refine, they have to give it a try. The Grandmaster has less than a year of life left at most. So everyone in Kunlun must go out to search for it. make sure to complete it within the limited time. But they at Kunlun don't have those things at all. Elder Chang doesn't know if it's possible to obtain it from other sects. Jinguang says it's a kind of pill from the demonic sect. As long as they have the materials, they can make it themselves. Su Qing hurriedly asked if his disciple was okay. Make sure not to overwork yourself. He has already done his best. Jinguang stated that he found a way to treat Zhu. It just requires a miraculous pill. That day when Jinguang fainted is still vivid in her memory. After waking up and instructing to continue supplying true energy to the master, he entered the sutra repository. He feels that Jinguang is putting too much pressure on him. At that moment, Jinguang walked out of the room. He wants to thoroughly read all the medical texts. Elder Chang told Su Cheng not to worry too much about him. The food sent by others is all consumed by Jinguang. Moreover, the inner peace of the master has also been restored. Su Cheng is not just worried about his master. He directly fainted. He lost consciousness. And just like that, a week passed. He had kept himself locked away in the scripture pavilion. He didn't want anyone to disturb him. He didn't care whether these people understood or not. Then he instructed the fallen one to endure the pain. He is going to start repairing the damaged Dantian. With the final piece being placed back into position, the golden light can no longer be sustained. The master suspects that the ancestral master has already been killed by him. Jinguang explained that he did not actually touch the ancestral master. He simply used his internal energy to impact the location of the Baihui point. This caused the skin to bulge, because that is the main area where the internal energy dissipates, and struck at the top of the master's head. No one expected Jinguang to act this way, yet Jinguang urged the elders to quickly transfer their inner strength to the master. To prevent the master's vital energy from depleting rapidly, he only resorted to this desperate measure. Then he had everyone continuously supply internal energy to the master ancestor. The master also wanted to help, but was ignored. After everything was arranged, Jin Guangyun exerted his power. The rate of energy loss was faster than before. He had the elders help support the ancestor of corpses. Then he urged the ancestor of corpses not to give up. He must stay awake. He would not harm the ancestor of corpses. Everyone advised him against it. Jin Guang mentioned that his master once told him to be someone who is always loyal to his own beliefs. The ancestor of corpses didn't expect a 2-year-old child to remember those words. At this moment, Jin Guang realized he should stop. In the last life, my father passed away. He didn't feel anything at all. He immediately made his master wait for a year. He can definitely do it. Seeing him continuously infuse true energy into his master. So he asked the Grandmaster if there was any unfulfilled wish. The Grandmaster expressed his desire to see a true dragon emerge from Kunlun again. He believed Jingguang could make it happen. Thinking back, this was the old man's care for him. Jingguang felt as if something had been taken away from him. After all, no one can defy the laws of nature. He saw Jingguang standing behind, saying nothing. The Grandmaster asked if something was troubling the sect leader. The elder suggested they should speak up sooner rather than later. Jingguang didn't expect the old man to still worry about others at this moment. Jingguang was still happy about resolving his health issues. Unexpectedly, he received the news that his master was critically ill. He and his master hurried back to see their ancestor. He told them not to be too sad. In order to fulfill it, the boy smashed something onto his head. Everyone thought he was crazy, but the boy said he was extending the old man's life. Not long ago, he hadn't paid much attention to them. When he returned, many people urged Jingguang to go inside quickly. His master had been waiting for him to come back. At the moment of death, he actually had one last wish. Seeing the master's condition, he quickly asked what had happened. He was told that something had happened to the Grandmaster. The two of them hurried back. Although Jingguang knew about the Grandmaster's health problems, at this moment, he looked towards the distant thatched cottage. Remembering the past, that old man was really good to him. He didn't know why he suddenly thought of these things. At this moment, the master's voice interrupted his thoughts. After so much effort, his inner strength has finally reached balance. Because of what happened before, he spent 4 years' time, and has finally resolved the trouble. At this moment, the Grandmaster came over and said he no longer needed to worry about anything. His junior noticed that he was coughing constantly during the conversation, and advised him to go back and rest properly. But the Grandmaster only wanted to take another look at Kunlun's scenery. At this time, Jingguang was training alone in the back mountain. Time flew by. Another 2 years passed. The disciples of Kunlun haven't relaxed for a single day. The sect leader and elders are pleased to see Kunlun's progress. For years ago, he and his senior brother made the right decision. Upon hearing this, Kongwei felt a lot less burdened. He earnestly requested Jingguang to join the Wulin Alliance in Kunlun. He promised to repay Jingguang for his help. Jingguang felt that he must have other motives, and so the two left Kunlun. The two left the room. After his uncle left, Kongwei thanked Jingguang, and called him master. Jin Guang asked him to remove the part about the master. Jin Guang hoped to sleep a little longer. Conway asked his uncle to let him talk to Jin Guang alone. Hearing this, Jin Guang wondered what it was about this time. Seeing his nephew so insistent, then they found Jin Guang. They asked if he had seen Conway. Jin Guang said he should be back soon. Before long, Conway really arrived here. Seeing that Conway had come, they have rules to follow. When she returned to her place, her nephew was surprisingly not here. He thought his nephew should be looking for Jin Guang. He asked Su Qing where his disciple was. Will help wholeheartedly. Thus, Pang Suyuan gained support. She prepared to leave Kunlun. She mentioned that next time they meet, she would have a good drink with Su Qing. Su Qing told her not to talk nonsense. The Grandmaster heard that they need to work harder to cultivate within 3 years. The junior brother feels that raising the difficulty now might be too much. The Grandmaster stated. They have already trained for 2 years. Moreover, they still have golden light. This way, they could reduce casualties against the demon cult. The elder thought it was a great idea. But how long will it take to achieve? Pang Suyuan stated. Because for many sects, it will take at least 3 years. The elder of the sect finally realized the purpose of the Pang family's visit. The Pang family wants to gain support from Kunlun to become the leader of the martial arts world. In return, they would send experts to help here. Now that the problem was solved, he was ready to go back and take a nap. He didn't know what benefit he would get from this. On second thought, forget it. Leaving here, he threw a punch again at Conway. With a shattering sound, Conway howled to the sky. Jin Guang thought his reaction was too exaggerated. Even without yelling, it would have worked. How could he be afraid? He struggled to stand up. He shouted that he was not a coward. What Jin Guang was waiting for was this moment. In an instant, he moved forward. Break through in one breath. Conway wanted to grit his teeth, but instead, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Jin Guang urged him to give up if he couldn't do it. He is one of the 4 phoenixes of the 9 dragons. Then, the golden light instructed him to keep running his technique. But Conway didn't understand why he had to use this method. Even without looking at his face, he knew the opponent was enjoying the fight. At that moment, he felt internal resistance again. The golden light told him not to fear the pain. The energy and blood within him began to churn and get blocked. At that moment, Jin Guang seized the opportunity and threw a punch. Conway was surprised. The pain in his chest suddenly disappeared, and his energy and blood flowed much more smoothly. Pang Conway, as one of the esteemed 4 phoenixes of Jolong, there's nothing he can't achieve. But for some reason, he kept hitting his head. He suspected that the other person was deliberately messing with him. When he could no longer tolerate it, he was clearly doing as requested by the other party, but was told that he couldn't control his energy at all. He was just blindly increasing his internal strength. Jin Guang urged him to slow down, to focus his attention. They came here to gain Kunlun's support. Pang Suyuan admitted that this was the case, but they would also provide corresponding assistance to Kunlun. Nian is diligently practicing the cultivation method. Yet he was struck hard on the head by a boy. They have recently received intelligence about the actions of villains. Moreover, they have formed a cult-like group. The founder felt that the common people would suffer again. The elder of the sect thought that this matter wouldn't require his personal attendance. It seems the Pang family is indeed interested in the leader of the Wuling Alliance. Pang Suyuan replied that he learned a lot from the sparring. His second reason for coming is regarding the reconstruction of the Martial Arts Alliance, after the death of the Sky Demon. Although the Martial Arts Alliance was disbanded, Sushi didn't expect Jin Guang's words to be really practical. As long as he focuses, he shouldn't miss. After dodging the fatal blow again, the sect leader asked about the martial arts of Kunlun. He didn't forget to add more random movements to confuse the enemy. If the opponent chooses to retreat, then follow and close the distance to launch an attack. Pang Suyuan had never seen such absurd behavior, but the opponent was always able to block his attacks. At that time, he thought it was unreasonable. He should tell his master. Unexpectedly, his senior brother had already fallen to the side. He didn't know why he thought of this, but Jin Guang taught it himself. He must be very strong. She suggested that they don't need to reveal their techniques. Contempt. Jin Guang has also told him this. During training, Jin Guang told him not to reveal his techniques. The master said that it would be fine for that kid to take the stage. The elder of the Long sect understood my senior brother's meaning. He let Su Ji face the challenge. Thus, everyone gave way to them. Pang Suyuan thought that since this person was chosen, no one was displeased. The Taoist thought his proposal was just right. They all wanted to test the results of the past 2 years. Elder Changjiao felt they were being too rude. Then I asked my senior brother who he thought would be suitable to go up. But Peng Suyuan wanted a real combat experience. Upon hearing this, everyone began to discuss. The elder Changjiao felt that the second matter was definitely related to this, because it was a serious matter. Peng Suyuan hoped that everyone would not misunderstand. He asked why Peng had come to Kunlun. Peng Suyuan replied. First, he wanted to learn martial arts from Kunlun. Su Qing thought he could simply come to him. There was no need to trouble others. At this moment, the elders returned from training. They didn't expect the Peng family from Hebei to come here. Everyone enthusiastically steps forward to greet him. Their defense was hard for Peng Suyuan to endure. Fortunately, the Grand Elder intervened. Peng Suyuan feels that this place is getting more and more rundown. It doesn't matter. What's important is how Kunlun's martial arts are. He introduces himself as coming from the Peng family. The two masters warmly welcomed his arrival, saying that he's usually very well behaved. For the past 2 years, to improve for everyone. He has never missed a day, because he promised the Grandmaster to make Kunlun stronger. After that, the two of them arrived at the Kunlun Grand Hall, so he let Kongwei practice martial arts with him. On the other side, Su Qing asked Kongwei how his injury was. Peng Suyuan thinks it's nothing serious. It's just a broken rib. Su Qing apologizes on behalf of his disciple. Kongwei didn't expect him to know his thoughts, so he asked how he did it. Jin Guang couldn't explain it clearly. He could just see it very clearly. Kongwei was puzzled why the elders couldn't see it. Jin Guang knew the other person wouldn't believe him. Actually, if he had just spoken up, Jin Guang would have given him the answer. That fool just had to make things complicated. An exasperated Jin Guang called out to him. He asked if he wanted to know about the blockage of true energy. Out of curiosity, he wanted to be friends with Jin Guang. Sadly, the boy didn't want it to be that way. He always felt disliked by others. Then he apologized to Jin Guang. He was about to leave. He only wanted to be friends with Jin Guang. Upon hearing this, Jin Guang realized he had misunderstood. Even so, he wouldn't befriend him, because Kongwei must have other motives. Kongwei knew he was right. As soon as he said this, Jin Guang was so scared that he kept retreating. Kongwei quickly explained that he was too anxious. Jin Guang told him not to say another word. That killing intent reminded Kongwei of the demonic cult. Jin Guang asked her not to misunderstand. These people have known him since he was a baby. Seeing that the other party was about to leave, Peng Kongwei blocked his way. He hopes to become close with him as well. Kongwei doesn't know what's going on with this sect. She never thought there would be so many women in the Taoist temple. She feels completely ignored. She was even pushed aside. She thinks this world is too unfair. But he didn't notice where a group of women came from. Such a skilled person like him didn't pay attention to these people. He hopes everyone will give him some space. If there's something, find Jin Guang. Everyone doesn't know where this wild kid comes from to dare to manage them. He is very happy. After being scorned by his nephew, he seems less restless. After the uncle left, Kongwei came to the training ground by himself. He knew Jin Guang would definitely be here. But after seeing his uncle's expression, he just apologized to him, saying he always worries him. Then his uncle went to see Elder Kunlun. Let Kongwei not run around. Many people were waiting for a chance to hurt him. He can't let anyone know that he's really blocked. Even his uncle didn't notice. How did Jin Guang find out? He wanted to say something, and he accurately struck that spot. Uncle told him to be careful in the future. After all, this is just the lineup. Kongwei knew that his uncle was right. His family was all supporting his brother. Another day passed just like that. Peng Kongwei finally woke up. His uncle told him to take care of his injuries. Don't move. Kongwei didn't know how Jin Guang discovered his blocked energy. Su Qing expressed that if it were him, he would also lose his rationality. Peng Suyuan was very curious about how he got his nephew to sleep. Jin Guang didn't understand. He couldn't see the reason behind it. He could only say that his nephew was probably really tired. He didn't expect his nephew to walk in front of him. He regretted not stepping in to stop him in time. At that moment, a snoring sound was heard. He felt very embarrassed. He wished they wouldn't talk to him. At that moment, Jin Guang punched Kongwei again, sending him flying. Only then did his uncle react. He stepped forward to catch him. Kongwei said he was very tired. After saying that, he fell silent. Jin Guang looked at Kongwei's uncle. He was still standing in place. In fact, his uncle was frightened by Jin Guang. Maybe Su Xian wasn't lying to himself. This kid really is a once-in-a-century genius, reminding him not to go too far. Since that's the case, he can only be cunning. Otherwise, his opponent will keep attacking his master. Please, don't let him hear the sound of bones breaking again. Angrily, he charged at Jin Guang again. But no matter what, he can't hit his opponent. Jin Guang no longer wants to spar with him. He thinks breaking the opponent's leg should end the practice. The master transmitted a message. He would only use 30% of his power, but the master insisted that he couldn't even use 20%. Using 10% of his power is already very dangerous. Hearing their conversation, Kongwei felt completely belittled. So he urged Jin Guang to unleash his full strength, because he would retaliate with 3 layers of internal energy. Upon hearing he would use internal energy, Su Qing firmly opposed. Jin Guang assured the master. A punch came crashing down on him. Pang Kong, the direct descendant of a prestigious family, a role model among the young from the 9 dragons and 4 phoenixes, was unexpectedly being beaten down unilaterally here. His pride wouldn't allow such a thing to happen, but Jin Guang blocked his punch with a single finger. Then he was sent flying with one punch, and Jin Guang did not stop. He followed closely behind, making sure he gritted his teeth. Jin Guang really can't stand the orthodox way. Every time he has to demonstrate his own moves. There was no choice, he said he would use the chasing cloud fist. Seeing the opponent's appearance, Kong Wei, angered, rushed forward directly. Su Xian expressed that his concern is Kong Wei. Jin Guang can't remember the last time he sparred with someone. Every day he just practices. It's quite boring. At this time, Kong Wei stated that he would practice with the Overlord fist. Unexpectedly, Jin Guang agreed to the request. The group then went outside. Su Qing appeared somewhat uneasy. Pang Suyuan assured him to not worry. Kong Wei will have discretion. Immediately, Kong Wei hoped to witness Kunlun martial arts. Su Qing stated that since this is the case, he would fulfill both of their requests. However, Kong Wei only hoped to have a literary debate with Jin Guang. Su Qing advised him to think it over carefully. He wanted to make the other person understand what society is like. His uncle sent a message asking what he wanted to do. Kong Wei replied that he wanted to see what Kunlun martial arts were really like. In fact, his uncle had the same idea. So he advised his nephew not to hurt the other person. Doesn't want to eat vegetarian food. He just wants to eat meat. When Jin Guang looked up, he found that the other person was actually looking at him. He didn't expect that just speaking the truth would anger the other party. Pang Kongwei felt that the boy in front of him had too little experience. Jin Guang is completely someone who lives in 2 worlds. People eat ravenously like wolves and tigers. Only one young man is gentle and refined. They all think he is different from the rest. In fact, he had already started eating. Su Qing told them not to be polite, because everyone eats like this. Pang Suyuan noticed that compared to the people here. The next day, Su Cheng invited them to have a meal together. Pang Tangwei asked how this herb could be eaten. Uncle urged him to pay attention to his words and actions. He hurriedly apologized to the other party, but Su Qing didn't care at all. Pang Suyuan mentioned that they were a bit tired from the long journey. After returning to the room, the two were speechless. They were both wondering where Jin Guang was a genius. If they tested it, they might know Kunlun's current strength. Su Qing prepared to explain what had just happened. Everything had to start from when he discovered the baby on the mountain. The two of them didn't know why he chose to start from there. Su Qing felt that it shouldn't start from that point, afraid they won't understand. They can call him Jin Yulong. Jin Guang hurriedly bowed and introduced himself. The two of them returned the greeting but were very confused. What is so special about this child? After Jin Guang left first, they immediately asked Su Qing what was going on. Su Qing stated that before explaining, he wanted to introduce someone. He is the greatest genius in history, his disciple. At that moment, the sound of roaring came from afar. The sect's elders soared into the sky, chanting techniques as they passed the two of them. Then a group of disciples rushed out. This left the two of them at a loss. Then they asked if Su Qing had disciples as well. Su Qing was very proud upon hearing this, because his disciple was a genius among geniuses. Compared to the 9 dragons and 4 phoenixes, he was the true dragon. It turns out that they are friends. They have known each other for a long time and quickly invite her in for a detailed conversation. Su Qing asks who the young man following them is. Pang Suyuan introduces him as her nephew. He is one of the young generation known as the 4 phoenixes of 9 dragons in the martial world, indicating that it was time to change shifts. Then the receiving Taoist boy went in to report that there were guests. Tang Wei asks the gatekeeper if it is very difficult here. Unexpectedly, the gatekeeper replies that this is a fairyland. Before long, Su Qing runs out from inside. His uncle will definitely look at him differently. Then they finally arrived at Kunlun sect, hoping to meet the Kunlun sect leader. He introduced himself as Pang Suyuan from the Pang family. At that moment, another Taoist boy walked over from behind. My elder brother is too indulgent, which has made this son arrogant. Yet Kongwei feels he hasn't said anything so biased. His martial arts skills surely can't be that good either, if he can defeat a Taoist of similar age. His uncle told him not to speak carelessly. They have arrived in the Kunlun territory. He will tell his father everything without holding back. If it weren't for my elder brother's request, he would have come here on his own. An old man and a young man ascended Kunlun. They were from the Pang family of Hebei. The young man's name was Peng Kongwei. He didn't know why they had come to such a remote place, nor why they had to seek help from this worn-out sect. The master took his junior to find Jin Guang. They had a question for Jin Guang. How could they make Kunlun stronger? Jin Guang said there is indeed a simple solution. And just like that, 2 more years passed. He refused when asked a second time. because his internal energy was so far out of balance. It wasn't a good thing. It will take some time to restore balance. While reflecting, when he could no longer hold back and was about to vomit, he returned all his internal energy. And then, a miraculous thing happened. Moreover, Jin Guang also gained an enhancement of his internal energy. A few days later, Jin Guang performed once for the elders. He found that it wasn't as simple as he thought. He remembered that when the sword saint spun, the internal energy grew like a snowball. So he increased the speed of his spinning. This made his stomach feel very uncomfortable. He finally understood that strange expression of the swordmaster at the time. He accepted the other person's challenge. He remembered that the person kept spinning his weapon. Maybe he could try this situation now. If it doesn't work, he could only choose to accept. When Jin Guang began to try to rotate his internal energy, in fact, the boy also didn't know it would turn out like this. He just wanted to stop the elders from sacrificing themselves for him. With his memories from his past life, he recalled the Wudong Tai Chi sword saint from years ago. At that time, out of boredom, the Tao intended to improve the boy's cultivation by consuming his lifespan. Instead, his own wrinkles disappeared. He even grew hair. Although the elders did not know what happened, they all wanted the boy to help them regain their youth. But if it were in this way, he couldn't accept it. The internal energy must be returned as soon as possible. Jin Guang recalled memories of his past life. He finally thought of a solution. Then they began to channel their energy towards the golden light. The golden light finally understood what these people were planning to do. They were preparing to transfer all their internal energy to him. The cost will be these people's lives. He initially wanted to leave Kunlun after learning martial arts. They prepared something better than pills. Several old men sat down. The corpse ancestor told him not to move. Stay awake. The four of them hoped to do something meaningful in their limited lives. Helpless, he could only prepare to start today's discussion. But the elders only wanted to take him to one place. Jin Guang had no idea what these old men were up to. So, he was brought back to the main hall. The corpse ancestor said that they had been too selfish all along. Because they did not possess such miraculous items, they could only apologize to Jin Guang again and leave. Jin Guang forgot that the sect is very poor. He actually behaved like a child. The next day, the elders called him up again. To make up for it, Jin Guang asked them to give him something. Something that could enhance his internal cultivation. Hearing this, the elders exchanged glances. Jin Guang feels these old men have more energy than he does. He's already exhausted by them. The elders told Jin Guang not to worry about their health. Jin Guang said his own health has already been affected. The elders then realized how rude they had been. Kunlun may be finished. Their only hope now is Jin Guang. The elders think so as well. At night, Jin Guang's place is bustling with people. The elders all hope to get some martial arts guidance. Perhaps this is the kind of achievement that can only be reached through major events. At this moment, someone remembered it was all because of the celestial demon. Their leader encountered misfortune because of it. Kunlun's martial arts have also regressed because of this. If someone like the celestial demon appears again, he will still maintain that impressive image. Everyone knows he hasn't changed since he was young. That smile has always been on his face. Instead, they changed themselves for certain reasons. Jin Guang didn't expect these elders to reflect in front of the children. The elders all believe that the master shouldn't say these things. If outsiders find out, they will laugh at them. The junior brother replied, "What does it matter if they laugh?" He must speak up to support Jin Guang's viewpoint. He feels that men all wish to receive others' praise. When he first entered Kunlun, it was also because he saw that the people here were really cool. His junior brother also supported this idea. Did their true energy change? The elders were left speechless when asked. So the master was constantly getting stronger just to look cool. Why can't the Taoist be considered too bitter? The ancestor didn't expect that a child would shake the elders' beliefs. Everyone knows this. When the founder and master attained enlightenment back in the day, he let out a roar. It wasn't because he was full of true energy after enlightenment. It was to attract others to watch him. When people gained enlightenment, he asked the elders to be quiet and to listen to Jin Guang's thoughts. All the elders waited for Jin Guang's response. Jin Guang didn't know what he had done wrong. The martial arts of the Kunlun sect should be quite impressive, and let's the two of them not worry. This is the gospel of their sect. However, the elders had disagreements over this matter. Jin Guang looked at Shizu in confusion. Shizu said he would handle everything. He asks his master if that was cool. At this moment, the corpse ancestor appears and says it's so cool. They didn't expect their master to show up here. The corpse ancestor feels no malice from Jin Guang's actions. He decides to support this young man's approach. He couldn't believe that his disciple would bring shame to the sect. He then asked his disciple to practice again to see for himself. He was surprised to find that the disciple had actually improved the fist technique. He excitedly thinks that his apprentice is a genius. After the golden light finishes, it all started when he modified the martial arts technique. As a result, he was confronted by the parents seeking an explanation, but he knew that his master would not punish him. Indeed, the master felt that his junior brother was exaggerating a bit, without seeing it for himself. Seeing this, Jin Guang interrupted their conversation. He indicated that he was actually teaching his senior brother. No matter when, there were always people asking the boy for martial arts advice. Even during his free time, he never got a break. This caused him to dream of these old men. The newcomer was the senior brother's master. He inquired about what they were doing. Jin Guang subconsciously answered that they were practicing cloud-chasing fist. The senior brother knew that Bulalan was in front of Jin Guang. The master didn't expect that his best disciple would teach others wrongly. Jin Guang asked with a smile if this change would make them stronger. He could teach his senior brother how to cultivate. The senior brother felt that this was disrespectful to the grandmaster, but his body was honest and started practicing along. At this moment, an artist interrupted their practice. I thought I had caught the golden light, but it dispersed like clouds. How can a 13-year-old child do something like that? It completely changed the martial arts of Kunlun. He must make the junior brother understand this point. I thought I had hit the opponent, but it was just an illusion. Then I was struck hard in the back. Senior brother doesn't know how the opponent did it. Then we should practice with normal boxing techniques. After finishing, the senior brother said this is the right way, but Jin Guang said he wouldn't be able to hit the senior brother like this. He decided to stick to his own boxing style for the match. The senior brother thought this was wrong. The senior brother was quite shocked. His boxing technique was different from the sex martial arts. Jin Guang explained that he had made some improvements to it. The senior brother told him to never let the elders find out. Since that's the case, Jin Guang did not hesitate. His body instantly turned into a blur. The next second, he was already in front of his senior brother. His fists attacked like a raging storm. After a full combo of moves, then he found his senior brother who was practicing. He hoped they could spar a bit. The senior brother heard he was a genius, and wanted to see what talents he possessed. So, he let him make the first move. The senior brothers hope that Jin Guang won't turn into someone like the heavenly demon. Ever since he finished learning the martial arts of the Kunlun sect, Jin Guang indeed changed many things. Since the sect's martial arts were lost because of him, he now wants to recover the original techniques. So he lets his subordinates handle it themselves. Don't go too far. Today I heard from my senior brother that his subordinates actually launched 7 battles. They even destroyed many martial arts techniques. They were discussing him. They said the heavenly demon is the source of all evil. He remembered he hadn't done anything before. At that time, his subordinates reported their desire to attack the Kunlun sect. He feels that the other party is not worth his effort. After the pleasantries, Jin Guang confirmed his suspicion. The martial arts of the Kunlun sect should be more elegant and flamboyant. Why did the ones I learned seem altered by someone? This thought was triggered by the conversation between his senior brothers. Jin Guang discovered some issues. He felt that the martial arts he had learned were wrong. He must find out why this is the case. Then he went to the library. His senior brothers all felt he was too diligent. Jin Guang's external and internal skills are improving equally quickly. He has absorbed everything taught by the ancestral master. That enthusiasm for martial arts has made the ancestral master very hopeful. He feels that Jin Guang might reach the realm of their sect leader. And so, another 5 years passed. The junior brother at the door asks the senior brother if he wants to pass on the supreme divine skill to Shangqing. The senior brother replies that it requires the elders to cultivate such skills. He fears that others will oppose this idea. The junior brother believes that no one will oppose the situation with Jin Guang. He then asks the senior brother if he has taught him any martial arts. Jin Guang already knows the answer. He asked when he could be taught the supreme art of Shangqing. The patriarch hurriedly informed his junior disciples about this. The elders were all very excited upon hearing it. They had never seen someone so young reach this level. It seemed he had reached a new level. After careful investigation by the master, Jin Guang has truly surpassed his limits. This kind of speed is beyond what a normal person can comprehend. Look at the patriarch's expression. For 3 years, the master imparted everything he knew. The golden light imprisoned him swiftly. He mastered everything he learned. However, there was still one question he wanted to ask his master. He felt that the current mental techniques no longer satisfied him. The master ancestor also acknowledged that the boy is a genius. Previously, the elders doubted whether such a young child should practice. The master ancestor, due to a shattered dantian, wanted to impart some of his insights. In this way, he had the boy start with the basics. To his surprise, the 5-year-old child already had true chi. Uncle thinks he is a genius and should receive better guidance. Upon hearing this, the master ancestor decided to personally teach the boy. When he brought the boy back again, the elders thought something big had happened. They expressed that they knew Jin Guang was a smart child. Su Qing said he wasn't joking. If they just checked Jin Guang's dantian, they would understand. Uncle Wenyan stepped forward to take a look. The master could not deny the existence of the truth. It seems his disciple is a genius. On another side, the elders had just finished their meeting. Su Cheng brought Jin Guang here to find his master and uncle. He happily told everyone that his disciple is a genius. The master couldn't believe it after hearing this. He hurriedly reached out to check his abdomen. To his surprise, there really was a powerful true energy present. The golden light indicated that he had learned by imitating the master. Although he couldn't believe it, another year passed like this. The master felt it was time to teach the golden light heart method. He asked if it was too light a form of qigong, because he had already mastered the basics and accumulated true energy. As long as he observes and breathes carefully, it is not difficult for him. Moreover, when he first arrived, the elders had purified his body with internal energy. So as long as he persists in practicing, he will definitely succeed. The master is happy to hear that Jin Guang can talk. He expresses joy, saying that he will teach him when he is a bit older. Jin Guang is not someone who waits idly. At night, while the master is meditating and cultivating, he quietly learns by the side. That wouldn't be much different from the last life. If he learned the Kunlun school's martial arts, it would be different. At this moment, his master came over and picked him up. Jin Guang asks his master if he can teach him to play the piano. He can't just wait until his body grows up. In that case, he decided to practice first. The fastest way is to continue cultivating the heavenly demon technique, but this might attract endless attacks from the righteous factions. Years went by like this. He finally gained the freedom to move around, but he can't escape even from ordinary people, let alone practice dancing. After running for a while, his body can't take it anymore. Even the goats have started to ignore his harassment. If this continues, will he also become like this? This life is too terrifying, so I have to leave here quickly. All the food here is vegetarian, and the house is in terrible condition. The only thing to do here is read. He suspects this place is still a martial arts sect. He really can't stand this kind of life. I wouldn't know what would have happened. In fact, he really enjoys this warm feeling. He won't be like those emotionless guys from before. Before long, he realized he was wrong. He was grateful for everyone's care for the boy. Jin Guang admired the old man very much. No matter who it is, he wins people over with virtue, truly worthy of the victory of the Kunlun Three Saints. If I had encountered him in a past life, the nanny should have already been called back. After returning to the sect, Jin Guang didn't know why there was a sheep here. He listened to the conversations of the people. Jin Guang knew that this was his nanny. The boy thought the old man would say something grand. Instead, he heard him say he only hoped the boy could grow up healthy, to be a person who holds on to his beliefs. He even named him Jin Guang. At this time, the old man's disciple felt it was time to go back. He was forced to become the leader of the demon sect. The old man didn't know what the boy was thinking. How could someone so adorable be abandoned in the mountains? It seems this is a fate bestowed upon them by heaven, so he has high hopes for this boy. Moreover, he had poor martial skills. To protect him, his father dealt with countless attackers every day. Over the century, he didn't know how many righteous sects he had eliminated. Until his father's death, his master found an abandoned tower in the mountains. The boy didn't expect that he had been reborn into the righteous path. His master couldn't be that clumsy guy, could he? In fact, he never liked staying in the demon sect. It was all because his father was the leader of the demon sect. He waited 100 years to succeed as the leader of the demon sect. He unfortunately passed away less than a year after taking over. When he opened his eyes again, an old man was looking at him. The old man told him that this was Kunlun Mountain.